What up? What up? What up? We are live, college hoops, coast to coast. Excited to have you back, Kev. What's up, my man?
Man, I'm hanging in there. It's been again, it's been busy time of year as it is for everyone in college basketball. But you know, you keep filling the schedule for us, so I'll keep hopping on. So
just gotta keep doing my part. You know what I mean? I don't work for SI just yet like you, but I gotta keep doing my part.
Hey man, you're the bigger star of the show. I'll tell you that.
No doubt, no doubt. And I think that's a lot, but I'll just act like it and run with it. The biggest stars are the ones we bring on. So speaking of, we have, I believe, 8 or 9 guests coming on tonight. Excited about the lineup, starting with normally you save the best for last, but we're coming out of the gate with a lot of heat with one of the best assistant coaches, and I'll just say coaches in the country. He's the associate head coach at Arkansas. He's been a head coach. He's been a associate head coach at multiple high majors, and you will not find a better dude anywhere in the country. And the best part about it is he can actually coach basketball too. Not just a recruiter, but a dude that can really, really coach the game and knows the game ins and outs. So excited to have DP on from Arkansas, so we'll bring him in the studio. DP, what up, homie?
Hey, B. Hey, thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate it. Hi, Kevin.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Excited to have you on. So we'll just get straight to the business, man. You are there with Coach Muss. You are in Arkansas. You guys are 15-5. You've been a head coach. You made the move to associate head coach. What made you do it, and how's the transition been so far?
Look, thanks again for having me on. I think the main thing, Brian, why I made the jump back to this position, I felt my 2 years at Riverside had got the program changing in the right direction. You know, they had won 6 games before I got there. We won 10 year one, and then turned it back with 17 wins in year 2 before COVID hit and stopped all of us. And so I took a step back, and in COVID, like all of us, we had a lot of time to think and a lot of time with ourselves and reflect on my career. And when Arkansas called and asked me to come join the staff, and especially join my friend and mentor Eric Musselman, it was hard to say no. Everybody thinks it's the financial situation, which helps, but it was more another chance to learn and grow. And the reason I coach, like a lot of us, is that growth mindset. And so I just wanted to grow, and what better place to grow than at Arkansas and in the SEC.
Right. Well said. Well said. Talk about your relationship with Coach Muss, if you don't mind. And you talked about him being a mentor. I know he's a close friend of yours. Talk a little bit about you guys' relationship and how it came about.
Look, I think, a lot of my success, and I think a lot of ours, is on relationships, right? And maintaining relationships. And, I met Coach Muss back in 2005 when I was over at St. Mary's in the Bay Area. I worked for Coach Bennett, Randy Bennett, who's still there and has had a great program. But Coach Bennett and Coach Musselman were at San Diego together, University of San Diego. And so at that time, Muss was coaching the Golden State Warriors, and then he went on to coach the Sacramento Kings, both in our backyards out in St. Mary's. And so just spent a lot of time in awe of him, right? An NBA head coach at that time at a younger age than he is now. And he kind of took me under his wing, and just learned being around him, and our friendship kind of blossomed over the last 15 to 20 years. And so, had a chance to work with him at LSU when he was out of coaching for a year or two. Had a chance to bring him in with us at LSU with Johnny Jones. And so our relationship stems deep and stems years. And it's not only working with a good coach, but working with a good friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna step out for a second and let Kevin take the way, because otherwise I'll keep talking all day to my good homie DP. So I'll let Kevin have some.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, everyone talks about how much they learn, and you can never really be prepared to be a head coach until you are a head coach. But now that you've taken a step back and you're an assistant, how differently do you see the game having had that experience running a program? And how much do you think that's helped, the job you're doing now as an associate head coach?
You know what? I knew as an assistant before I was a head coach, I had all the answers, man. I had all the suggestions, all the answers. But till you slide those 6 inches over, you understand that ultimately those decisions, it falls on you, good or bad, whatever the decision may be. And so, now that I'm back at this position as associate head coach, I kind of know what Muss is going through, the stress before a game or the stress of a pre-practice if you have media before it, or, whether it's travel, why do coaches travel if the charter plane here is messed up? And so those things, I know what it's like to be in in his shoes, so to speak, and just try to help him out as much as possible now that I'm in that position.
And looking back, obviously you had a successful 2-year run and left UC Riverside in a better place than you found it. How much are you following their success this season? They've obviously had a ton of success, won a couple big buy games. How closely do you follow that program still, even though you're obviously not with them right now?
Tremendously close. I didn't leave until July, and I mean this. I wasn't going to leave unless my associate head coach Mike McPile got the job. I just thought. We have a lot of kids from all around the country at Riverside, believe it or not, from Australia, New Zealand, Chicago, the Bay Area. And so those parents entrusted me to look after them, and they trusted my staff. And so one thing before I took this job here was making sure the program was in good hands, which it was, and that those kids at the end of the day were in good hands. And so Mike, his staff, Mike Zeppel, Mike Lezak, Wayne Hunter, have had good kids in their program, and they had good guys looking over them. And so I'm rooting for them every day. If I'm not watching us on film, I'm watching them and rooting for them from over here in Fayetteville.
And I know you mentioned that there was a very national roster you guys had, or international roster really, at UC Riverside, and obviously your connections to Australia. And you recruited Ben Simmons to LSU. Can you talk about your ties overseas and how you've been able to recruit there so successfully?
I can. I think, a lot of people that don't know me, I'm actually half Australian, believe it or not. My mother is Australian, and I grew up there. I went to high school in Australia from 7th grade to 12th grade before I came here to high school in Baton Rouge. And so, I go back every year, and I was in the junior national programs there. And so a lot of my former teammates and former coaches are still coaching over there and coaching at the highest level. And so when I jumped back into college coaching back in 2005, I had the fortune of recruiting some pretty good Australian players to St. Mary's, the likes of Patty Mills, Matthew Dellavedova, who both are still playing in the NBA. And then, as you mentioned, I was fortunate enough to play with a guy named David Simmons when I played professionally in Australia. And he had a little kid named Ben who ended up being a pretty good player, Ben Simmons now, who's with the Sixers. And so I think I know my ties are deep there. I've coached, I think, 37 Australians and New Zealand's combined in my 15 years of coaching. And so I think the track record speaks for itself in terms of their success. And it's something, now that the program's grown so globally, it's something that we've been able to utilize at every stop I've been at.
Coach, talk about you talked about the Australian part of things. Talk about the USA or the international. You're about to coach that team and get in the international competition. You've done a little bit of that before. Talk a little bit about that, and then also just talk about your, if I can say this selfishly, I've coached against you, your ability as a coach. So many times when you're at your level, guys see you as a recruiter. They know you recruited Ben Simmons. They know you've recruited elite players, like you said, Patty Mills, Dellavedova. What about your ability as a coach, and how much does the international experience play into that?
Look, Brian, great question. I think, internationally, the game, people say the IQ is a big part of the game, right? And it is internationally. Internationally, the players aren't as athletic as they are here. And so there's an evaluation that goes into place there. And, I'll tell you this, Patty Mills and Matt Dellavedova were no stars. There was no star next to their name coming out of high school, but they were workers. And, I can name a litany of other guys who've been in that boat, along the way. But they were workers. We had a kid when I was at TCU named Desmond Bain, who was a no-star, who was the number 30th pick in the NBA by the Memphis Grizzlies this past year, and he's leading the league in three-point shooting at the moment. And so I think evaluating is a big part of it. I think when you grow up in the international game, you look at the player for itself or the player for him or herself rather than where they're ranked or what their stars or stats are. And so I was able to do that at a young age. I also came in the game, Brian, in 2005, there was no YouTube and Twitter, and you had to go to gyms and really watch and evaluate players rather than looking at them on YouTube and whatnot. And so I think those lessons I've learned along the way, have helped me evaluate and become, a good coach.
Yeah, talk about a little bit of this Arkansas team. What do you love about this year's team? You guys are obviously competing at a high level, 15-5 on the year. SEC is kind of wide open this year. What's your thoughts on this year's team, and what do you love about them?
Look, I think Eric and his staff, Coach Musselman and his staff, laid a great foundation last year. I think anybody that watches Mus's teams know they're going to play hard, and they already did that when I got here. I think the way we moved the ball, I thought last year they had a star in Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe, who are both playing in the NBA for one for the Houston Rockets, the other for the 76ers. They kind of had two star powers. I think this year we have a 7 or 8 man roster where anybody can get you on any night. And so our ability to be tough on the defensive end, I think the rebounding mindset's changed this year. Last year, I think they were in the lower 300s rebounding the basketball. This year, we're top 20 in the country, number 1 in the SEC in defensive rebounding. So that's helped. And I think offensively, Coach Mus's philosophy of moving the ball and putting guys in mismatch situations has carried over this year. But 15-5 and tied for second in the SEC, which you said is a tough league. We're sitting in a good spot at this time of the season.
And talk about how you guys have been able to really piece it together with so many new faces. Obviously you're one of your top scorers, Moses Moody's a freshman. A couple of transfers above critical that's been critical for Muss at every stop he's been. But how do you think you guys have been so successful integrating all of these new faces, especially in the face of the pandemic, which has made it so difficult to bring everybody together?
Look, I think where people don't understand it, Eric did have a lot of transfers at Nevada, and he did it. He had to do it there, and that's why they had so much success right away. And I think at this level, he's figured out you can mix the transfers with the high school kids, and we've done that. You talk about Moses Moody. We start Devo Davis, who's a freshman from the state of Arkansas. We bring Jalen Williams off the bench, who's another freshman, mixed with our senior transfers, and Justin Smith, who's a fifth-year guy from the University of Indiana. Jalen Tate, who's a fifth-year guy from Northern Kentucky. And JD Note, who's a fourth-year guy, from Jacksonville. So we have a good mix of old and youth. And I think if you look at college basketball now, the teams that are good are older teams. And we're kind of old where we need to be and have some good youth there, where we have some talent.
And I wanted to ask you specifically about Moses Moody. Obviously he's a guy that's getting a lot of pro buzz, and his ability to shoot the ball is impressive and score. It's a different role for him playing at Arkansas than it was at Montverde because of the talent that he was surrounded by. Talk about his development as a player, as an all-around scorer in particular, and how he's been able to lead your team.
Look, I think we all knew, coming in here, he could shoot the ball, right? He could shoot it at Montverde. Obviously, you said he had great players around him. Cade Cunningham was, I think, on the other side of him, which makes a big difference. So here we knew he could shoot, but I don't think we quite knew he was going to rebound the ball as well. He's defended better than we thought. And for those college coaches that are listening, as a freshman, it's hard to get on the floor if you don't defend. I don't care how well you shoot it. And so he's done that, and he's rebounded for us at a high rate. The one thing I would say is, he doesn't hunt shots. He's averaging 17 a game as a true freshman in the SEC, and usually has the best defender on him every night, but doesn't hunt shots, kind of lets the game come to him. Which is kind of a mature thing to do, for his age. Because when you're that young and you're on draft boards, and it's inevitable you read the hype, but he hasn't bought into it, which has been a good thing for our team thus far this year.
And give us a scout. A big game coming up on Saturday against Missouri. I'm not going to give away all the secrets, but talk me through that matchup and what you expect from that game and how you guys are preparing for it.
Look, tough game at Missouri against a great coach in Quanzo Martin. Unfortunately, we get them after a loss at their place. They lost the other night to Ole Miss, and so you're kind of facing a wounded tiger, so to speak. Last time we played them at home here, it was a national TV game like Saturday will be. We were 9-0, and they came after us at home, and we weren't ready for the aggressiveness they came with. I thought here we fouled too much. We put them at the free throw line 39 times. Which is not great by any sense. And so, so I hope is to go up there, obviously meet their aggression, which they're going to play with, find a way to score the ball. What Kwanzaa does a great job with is the way his teams defend. And so it's not only stopping them, it's how do you figure out how to score on them. And so we got to find a way to do that. And if our perimeter shot's not going, how can we get to the free throw line on the road? How can we make some calls go our way on the road? And so that'll be a test for us going in that game on Saturday afternoon.
Right, and you coached in almost every almost every high major BCS conference, I feel like at this point. You've been in the SEC before at LSU. What is the SEC like now? I know everyone's giving so much attention to the Big 10 and the Big 12. In every conference that any coach is in, we all feel like it's the hardest conference. But tell some people about the SEC as a whole as far as competing in that league.
Look, I think, when you compare the SEC, I was in the Big 12, and that was a grind. Every night you're going to Iowa State, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Baylor, Texas. Like, it was a grind every night, and great coaches in that league. And I thought the talent level when I was there 3 years ago, they were older teams. A lot of juniors and seniors on those teams. I think when you jump into the SEC, not only coaching now, since I'm in the league, we have Buzz Williams, Tom Crean, Quanzo Martin, obviously Calipari's here. You got a litany of coaches in this league now that have won at a high level. Ben Howland, that have been in Final Fours, Frank Martin. So every night is a battle from a coaching standpoint. And then when you talk about the athletes in this league, I've been, like you said, in a lot of leagues. I don't know what leagues have these kind of athletes that are gazelles up and down the floor, and then they can jump over the basket. And so the length and athleticism in this league is unmatched, I think. Even you look at the NBA draft last year, predominantly SEC players were drafted in the first round. And I think it's because the athleticism translates to that next level. And so it's a fun league to be in. It's not a fun league when you're preparing for teams, but it's a fun league, when you're playing against great coaches and great opponents every night.
Right. Switching gears to a not so happy topic. We had one of our great members of a coaching fraternity, Coach Lou Hill, tragically passed earlier this week. I know pretty much everybody in this business, and you know how great of a coach and man he was. What would you say, if you had any words to say about him, to kind of honor his legacy and unfortunately kind of talk about that bad news?
Yeah, what tough news that was to hear Sunday. I'm sitting there watching the Super Bowl, and then that comes across the ticker, and I'm in shock. And the reason I say that, my thoughts and prayers go out to the Lou Hill family and everybody connected to him. But to hear that news just put everything in perspective. My good friend and mentor, Johnny Jones, played against him Saturday night. And so I was watching that game across the ticker, and, Johnny got the better of them on the buzzer, I believe, that night on Saturday. So I was kind of watching the game from afar. I have another friend on that staff, Luke Mackay, who's from Australia, on Lou's staff. And so to hear that news, I had to pinch myself. But you talk about a guy for me that was kind of a mentor. As a young assistant, as we all have been, Lou was always that cool dude. He was at UNLV when I met him first and became close to him. And then he went to Oklahoma. And, I was back then at Nicholls State and St. Mary's, just hoping to be like him one day, hoping to be that, that minority assistant that could someday, be a high major assistant. But he always had time for me and never big time me, never looked at the logo on my polo, which some people do. Just took me for who I was. His legendary status there in New York, and him playing at Wichita State, like I knew about it. So to be around him was great. And then when he became a head coach, from the Big 12, they're hard to get. These head coaching jobs are hard to get, and how he was able to turn that program around, was a credit to him and his staff. But it all had to do with him as a person. And so I'm hopeful that I can, live on his legacy and cherish my moments as a head coach, because you never know when it's going to be over, man. And we all say it, but until it touches you the way it does with Lou, and just see him on the sideline Saturday night and him not be with us Sunday is still a shock. And once again, my thoughts and prayers go out to him and the UTRGV family.
Yeah, very well said, Coach, and not an easy thing to deal with for any of us. So we're gonna let you go. Last question. Changing gears. One funny story for us before you go. Either about the pandemic and your family. We know you're a father and a husband. Something with your team. Something when you first became a head coach and you forgot your play card, so you had to go off of memory, or you got locked in the bathroom, or something funny that's happened along your coaching journey so far.
Look, I don't know if this is super funny, but we went to the Sweet 16 at St. Mary's, and everyone thought, first of all, nobody knew where St. Mary's was. But what people don't know is, we would have to take the van to the airport when we were over there, and we'd be going to play Gonzaga or Oregon or somebody. But nobody knew that either my wife, Cassie Patrick, or Kyle Smith's wife, who's now at Washington State, was the people driving the van and picking us up. I'll never forget we had beat Oregon on the road up at Eugene, which is a big win for us. And we pull up to the airport, and a short blue bus with water dripping out of it pulls up, and it's Kyle's wife, Katie, in the back of that bus. Oh, in the front of that bus driving it. And so, for us, it's hilarious because me and Kyle were like, can you believe these people are watching us on ESPN, think that we're living large. Little do they know that saving budget money, that our wives are driving us to games and stuff. And so we laugh and talk about that to this day, and we call it the miracle in Moraga.
I love it. I love it. Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining, man, taking the time out. I know you have a busy schedule. It means a lot. You're obviously somebody I've always looked up to and respected and call a friend. And thanks so much, and excited for your success. And you will be head coaching again. We all know that. But keep up the good work at Arkansas.
No, I appreciate you guys, man. And thanks for sharing, man. This is what this game's about. And, anytime I can help, and I love what you guys are doing, and I learn from it. And so appreciate you guys. And thanks for having me on your show.
Yep. Thank you, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
Take care.
Awesome stuff from David Patrick, associate head coach from Arkansas. We're going from SEC to the Big 12. We're going to bring in a top 25 program coach, and Coach CARLIN HARTMAN, another guy who's destined to be a head coach, tremendous leader of men, was a good player back in the day too. And then now he's showing other guys how to be great players. So we're going to bring in CARLIN HARTMAN from Oklahoma. See, what up, homie?
Hey, how you guys doing? Brian, Kevin,
Good,
what's
man.
going on?
Not too much. Glad to have you today. Thanks for coming on, man.
No, appreciate you guys having me. Just like David said, this is a great platform that you guys have, and I'm excited to be on and talk to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'll get the first one, and I'll get out of the way, let Kevin take over. Yeah. So I don't know if it's the Space Jam that's coming out and you got the Space Jam juice in the locker room or what, but Oklahoma's on crazy fire right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't ranked. Nobody's thinking about Oklahoma in the Big 12. Next thing you know, you start beating people up, and you guys are in the top 25 and on fire. So talk a little bit about the team and about the new run.
Yeah, the team is, we played really well. And the funny thing about it was, as we were kind of trending along, we were still trying to figure things out. And we play a really tough back-to-back schedule. We play, let's see, I think it was started with West Virginia. Then we had to go on the road to Baylor. And then the next game was on a Saturday against Kansas. And after the Baylor game, Brady Manick, our all-conference guy, four-year senior, he ended up testing positive for COVID. And then because of contact tracing, we lost Jalen Hill along the way. And so we had been really used to playing a certain lineup for a while and playing Brady along with another one of our centers in Kirk Weft. So long story short, we go to Kansas and we're shorthanded. Two of our guys that we were used to playing with at the end of ball games, in Brady and Jalen Hill. And so we get to Lawrence, and we said, okay, we got to make some changes. We got to adapt and on the fly. And the next man up mentality really took hold. And so we looked at our lineup. We thought to ourselves, okay, so who can, maybe not take Brady's place, but who can we put in there, and be able to handle the responsibilities of being the kind of foreman that we like. And so we put Elijah Harkless in there. He's a transfer from Cal State Northridge. He's only 6'3", so he's not 6'9" like Brady. So it's a different style of player. And so we get to Kansas, and we just, nobody's nervous or anything. We're just like, again, next man up, and let's just go out there, play as hard as we can, and and see where the chips fall. And so we're playing well throughout the course of the game. Kerr's doing a great job of protecting the rim. Elijah's doing a great job of switching out, and our perimeter defense, was really stout that night. And we ended up losing by 4, and we were only down 2. Kansas had the ball, and we had a chance. If we get a stop, we're going to come down, and we just say, we're going to try to win it if we can get possession of the ball. Well, McCormick hit a really tough shot. Put Kansas up by 4, and essentially the game was over at that point. But we got into the locker room, And Coach Kruger, as great as he is, he said, now you guys know, how it feels, to be in a ball game like that, with a chance to win. And it was at that moment when things just kind of started to change a little bit. We found a 4-guard lineup. We started to play smaller. It really did. Again, it helped our perimeter defense a ton. Harkless's insertion in the lineup has been really program changing for us to this point. Obviously, we still have a lot more tough games coming up, but to this point, it's been really good. And so from there, we ended up playing TCU the next night, played really well at home against them, beat them by 36. Then we ended up playing Kansas State the next game, beat them by 26 at home, and then we played Kansas again, ended up beating them. And then it just kind of kept going from there. Texas, we beat them by 1 at their place while they were shorthanded. And then we turn around, we're shorthanded again against Alabama. We lose Alondas Williams to COVID, and then we lose Austin Reeves to contact tracing. So, again, this year has been really kind of funky and all over the place. You've had to adapt and adjust on the fly. And thank goodness we've had really good depth. Thank goodness we've had really good players to be able to call on, when we're shorthanded. And, and then thank goodness we got a Hall of Fame coach in Lon Kruger, who our guys can kind of look to and see that calming influence on the sidelines and just understand and know that he's always going to put them in the right position, to win a ball game. And fortunately, we've been doing that over the last month and a half.
What do you think you've learned about yourself and maybe your staff as a whole coaching through the pandemic? You mentioned obviously the ability to adapt and kind of learn on the fly, kind of thrown into lineups you didn't expect to have to play. How much do you think you've learned from dealing with this, once in a lifetime season?
Yeah, I've probably learned the resiliency of the student athlete, the resiliency of these kids. They want to play basketball, and the great thing about these kids, they just go into these ball games, and us as coaches, we watch a lot of film. We spend a lot of time preparing for the games, but when it comes time to tip up the ball, for the most part, our guys have been really remarkable, and I've just learned that and I'm very far removed now as a player. I'm talking 26 years since I graduated from college and played professionally. But the thing is now is I'm learning more and more that kids nowadays is just like the hoop, and if you find the right guys that fit your style, fit your system, want to be in a gym on a consistent basis, no matter what the circumstance is, they'll adapt and they'll adjust. And they'll be, ready to, showcase what they can do. And so we had to go deep into our bench. We've been playing our 8th, 9th, sometimes even 10th guy during this pandemic. And, very proud of what they've done. And again, I just learned that, these kids are resilient. They just love to play.
And I know we talked over the summer about this, but I kind of wanted to update everybody. You worked on over the summer after the George Floyd incident and many other, conversations over the summer. You guys helped found a Coaches Coalition for Progress. I'm just kind of curious to check in. How's that going? What have you guys been working on recently? Obviously, it's different during the season. You have responsibilities, but talk about why you guys started in the first place and where it's going from here.
Why we started in the first place was obviously to, provide services to underserved youth in different communities around the country, and also to try to bridge the gap between law enforcement and just the communities in which, we plan on serving. And we feel like, as coaches that we can use our platform, as college coaches. And the group was formed, led by Todd Golden, the head coach at the University of San Francisco, who I've worked with in the past, and he asked me to be one of the founding members, which I, never hesitated on. And also Vinny McGee, who's an assistant at San Francisco, Kevin Hovde, another assistant at San Francisco, Jonathan Sayfair, who's a director of basketball at San Francisco, and Andrew Cooper, who's a defensive line coach at Washington State. And so, really the update on what we're doing right now is a lot of what it is at this point is just pretty much, continue to try to get the word out there, raising dollars for as much as we can. We're working on the West Oakland YMCA as one of our first ventures. We've gotten it up to around over $50,000 in terms of membership money and sponsors and so forth. And so we just hope that it's going to continue to grow. Some of the issues that we've run into, or I should say the biggest issue that we run into, is just the pandemic in itself. Some of these places in which we want to service, are not open. In the state of California, you're not going to find a lot of places right now that are, open to the public, in those particular types of settings like the YMCA in West Oakland. So it's been, that part has been more challenging than anything. I think we'll be able to do a lot more as time moves forward. Once we can get this country vaccinated and we can get back to a normal way of life. And I think I talked to you about this, Kevin, over the summer. As we work on West Oakland, we also work on some of the other hometowns in which we've grown up in. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I was my community center was the Father Bell Center on the west side of Buffalo. I know Kevin Hovde wants to do something in his town of Kennett Square, PA, and we're going to do something in Phoenix, Arizona, where Todd and Andrew, grew up. So, we have time, and we want to make sure we do it right. And I think I also told you this too as well. I work for one of the best in Lon Kruger, and he's been one of the top people of the Coaches versus Cancer, throughout the last 20 years or so. And their organization, they're under the umbrella of the American Cancer Society, and so we want to try to be, what Coaches versus Cancer is, for social injustice and change, and with our organization. And so we're just going to keep on fighting to, build it and grow it. And hopefully, here in the next couple of years or so, we can start to see the fruits of our labors. And, we're very confident that we'll be able to do that. The other thing that I've been able to be a part of is the Black Assistant Coaches Coalition.
Yeah, talk about that, Coach.
Yeah, that's BACA is the initial name of it, BACA, Black Assistant Coaches Coalition. And so that was Daniel Robinson, assistant coach at Iowa State. He started it. He had a lot of conversations, as we all have, with other organizations around the country. The Big East had something. The Pac-12 had something. The Big East, led by Dwayne Killings and other coaches there, Ben Johnson and so forth. And the Pac-12 has one led by Jason Hart. So they were doing their own different types of organizations within their leagues. And so we were able to form this one. D-Rob has done an unbelievable job of putting together different committees within our BACA organization, whether it be financial literacy, whether it be police reform and law enforcement engagement and so forth. And it's been really, really, really good just to be able to even work with our league. The Big 12 has been very much on top of trying to help us out as best as possible. Working with Jeff Jackson, working with the Big 12 office has been great, and even working with our ADs in our own particular programs. And for me personally, Joe Castiglione here at the University of Oklahoma, and our athletic director, he's been phenomenal in his support of BACA, and it has been in what we're trying to do. And also, he's just been great at just being the consummate leader, right, for our programs. He's big into diversity and inclusion, and he's not one of those athletic directors that is just trying to check off a box.
Yep.
To actually make a change and make a difference. And he's really done an unbelievable job on this campus. And to have his support with some of the ventures that myself and Pooh Williamson, Courtney Paris on the women's side, it's been nothing but phenomenal.
It's awesome. Yeah, we hate to go to this subject because it's not a fun subject, but we want to make sure we honor Coach Lou Hill the right way. I know you knew him. I know you had a relationship with him. If you don't mind, just a few words on him and just, unfortunately what happened, but just to honor him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was shocked, at getting the news on Sunday afternoon about Lou's passing. Lou was a tremendous person. He was someone who was a servant leader, someone who was a tremendous mentor, and someone who really cared about his players, the student athlete, and cared about people. Lou was a big time people person. Lou never shied away from giving you his opinion, whether you liked it or not. And a lot of times, that's okay. That's a good thing. And he was also, one of those guys who was kind of the heavy, when he was here at OU. He had been with Coach Kruger for 12 or 13 years from his time at UNLV to when he came with Coach Kruger to the University of Oklahoma. And when I say he was kind of the heavy, he was the guy that was going to give you the tough love on the court. He was the one that was going to, be there, but he was also going to be the one that was going to be there for you, when you needed something. And so the guys loved him. They respected him. And it's been pretty difficult, just kind of, checking on certain guys that played for him. And just, seeing how they're doing with, his passing and so forth. But I got a chance to really get to know Lou since I've been here. I was his replacement when I got hired, and he got the job at Rio Grande Valley. And he was unbelievable, just in terms of, anytime I had a question about something, anytime I had a question or comment about someone or just trying to find out more information about the university as a whole, he was always there for me. And him and Chris Crutchfield, when I first got here, helped my transition, really, really smoothly. And he's going to be someone that's going to be sorely missed. We lost, a great mentor, a great, coach, but more importantly, his wife Renee and his kids, LJ and Ellie, lost a great husband and a great father, as well as his older kids as well. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That really means a lot. And nothing but blessings moving forward, for not just the Hill family, but the community down there at Rio Grande Valley.
Absolutely, Coach. Well said. I appreciate you doing that. I know that's not an easy thing. We just want to make sure we honor him the right way. So ending, we changed gears. I know we're going from a little somber to happy, but you got to end this with one funny story before you go.
You know what? When you told me that you were going to do that, I was thinking to myself, any funny stories? I can't even remember. But I guess there's one. I don't know how funny this is, but this is more or less, it's kind of scary as hell, to be honest with you. So I'm in my first year here at OU, and we got a big game. This is my first Bedlam game. And, prepared well for the scout. I believe it was a Monday game, if I'm not mistaken. So really, we had a game on Saturday. We're playing Monday. This was Underwood's only year, and this was the year after we had went to the Final Four. So we were kind of up and down that year. We were playing a lot of young guys, and we were struggling to find wins, but we had been playing pretty well as of late. So fast forward, we're 30 minutes before the game. Everything's we're ready to go, and the guys are coming off the court. Coach is going to talk to them. And go through the personnel that's written up on the board, go through the keys that's written up on the board. It's my scout. I'm ready to go. He's ready to go. Thing is, as soon as we got to the board, there was no scout written up there. I had forgotten to write the scout. I forgot to write the scout up on the board. And I thought to myself, if there was any other coach in America that, saw or didn't see this,
Right.
either I was going to be fired or I was going to be reamed out in front of the whole team.
Right.
Lon just saw it. There was nothing up there. He said, "Oh, we got nothing up there. All right, so here we go. Here are the keys. Hold on, this is it." And he's just moving along. I'm scared to death about what the discussion is going to be. And I'm just sitting there, and the guys are walking out. They're getting ready to go back on the court for their last bit of warm-ups before they come back at the 7-minute mark. And so as soon as they all walk out, I just said, "Coach, I am so sorry." He was like, "Oh, no big deal. Let's go." And that's it. Never be brought up again. That's why I say Lon is the greatest person, number one. And number two, he is just the most patient human being you've ever been around. And I mean, we have not brought it up to this day. He probably wouldn't even remember that I forgot to write that star up. So,
wow.
I don't know if that's funny, but it's maybe more of a lesson of like, and Brian, you know this because you've been on that side of it. Just make sure you check all the, everything before, you sit down and, have everything, just have everything in order is what I'm trying to say.
Right. That's an awesome story, Coach. I appreciate you saying. I wasn't expecting that one. That was pretty good.
Wasn't pretty good at the time for me, but I can look back on it now and laugh. So.
You can laugh now. Well, thanks so much, Coach, for taking the time, man. It means a lot. You know how I feel about you, man. You have so much respect and love everything you represent, and excited to see what you guys continue to do, man. Good luck the rest of the way.
Brian and Kevin, appreciate you guys. And again, this platform is awesome. Thanks for having me, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome stuff. You weren't even expecting that one, Kev.
I love it. Nah, that is an incredible story. It says a lot about Lon, honestly. It says a lot about Lon Kruger.
It does. And they continue to win. And, as Coach broke it down, man, it's just, you just never know. We talk about in the show all the time. You can't judge a team by early how they play. It's all about how you play late. And they're playing their best basketball at the right time. And excited to see what they do as the season closes. Speaking of exciting basketball and teams that are playing at a high level, we're going to the Big East and bringing in another guy who spent some time in Texas. He's the all-time leading scorer at Texas. I think he's all-time steals as well. He always talks about people don't talk about his defense, so he has to make sure people know he's all-time leader in steals too. But we got Terrence RENCHER, one of my favorites, along with all the first two we had as well. But Terrence RENCHER coming on from Creighton, and he's going to definitely entertain us because he's good at what he does. T, what up, man?
Fellas, what's going on? What's going on? Hey,
You had to make sure it's spelled right or what?
I just had to make sure I wasn't, unmuted, man. I'm a little nervous right now, man. Y'all got the platform is looking extra professional. I'm piggybacking off of CARLIN HARTMAN, the ultimate professional. It's a lot of pressure on me tonight, man.
But you're used to pressure, Coach. Talk before we talk about basketball and coaching. I mean, you got to be feeling good about. You got Kevin Durant. I can go down the line of the Texas pros that have come through, and you're one of them, of course. But man, to be the all-time leading scorer there and steals, I made sure people knew that. They can't forget about the defense. You weren't just a James Harden guy. You know what I mean?
Because they think, people think just because you score, you can't guard nobody. But I took some pride in our defense. Now we pressed a lot, so I ran through some passing lanes and did a lot of gambling. But it was educated gambling, and it worked out for me. But no, I'm a product of the way the thing is trending, right? I mean, I was in school 4 years, man. All the good players, they come and they go. So, I don't know. I've been the all-time leading scorer for 25 years.
Wow.
All of the talented guys, they come for a year and leave, man. So I think I might be safe for another 25, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anybody's touching that. So talk about like how does that help you as a coach now? Do people actually respect it still, or do they like, come on, Coach, you weren't really that good, and you were good early to be the all-time leading scorer. You had to be good right away. It wasn't like, oh, you paid your dues. You paid your dues by earning your spot early, but you earned your spot early on.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's the secret to it. I mean, I came in the door, I averaged 19 as a freshman, and that just gave me a head start in terms of eclipsing some of those numbers, man. So. I was lucky enough to pick the right place in terms of the opportunity and the style of play. But no, it definitely helps. I mean, obviously these guys today, they don't know who I am as a player. They never really heard of me. But when they they do their homework and, they hear enough about it. They definitely respect it. It definitely gives me some credibility with guys off the bat. And, you get older, man. I was younger. I didn't care about that stuff. I loved to play. I wanted to win games, and that was my focus. But now that I'm older, I can't move. I can't score anymore. That stuff is a lot more important. And, I take a lot of pride in it now.
Yeah, one more before I let Kevin take over. What's the part that you would say, like, one, would you have gone early if you could go back? Would you have left and gone to the league early, you think?
Well, let me tell you how it went. I grew up in New York in the Big East, during the Big East, the Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin Big East. So, I was a big time college basketball guy. The NBA was cool. And, if I got there, I got there. But I was always just obsessed with being a really, really good college player, because I enjoyed the college game and the excitement and the enthusiasm behind it. So my whole focus was going to college and being a good player. Now, when I got to college after my freshman year, that's when all the whispers started. You started hearing, because that was just starting to happen, underclassmen coming out of college during those years. So I started hearing that, the rumblings, and, man, if you have another good season, man, you might be able to come out of school. And that took my focus away from what made me good. Now I started to play to what the quote unquote scouts wanted to see from me. And my sophomore year wasn't as good because I started focusing on the wrong things, man. So if I could have, I probably would have tried. Now, also back then, when you came out, you came out. There was no test of
no
waters.
going back. Right.
There was no going back. So it was a lot scarier, a lot riskier. And, when I was after my freshman year, man, there were grown men in the draft. There was Grant Hill and Christian Laettner and Alonzo Mourning and Penny Hardaway, Shaq. I mean, I wasn't ready for that at the time, and I knew that. So I got a little distracted by the thought of it, but I wasn't ready for it. And, the Lord let me know. So I stayed in school for 4 years like I should have.
So it probably helps you help manage high-level players now, right? You can talk about it from firsthand, not from theory, but from experience.
Yeah, it helps. It helps, but, a high-level player is a high-level player for a reason. They have.
It's like that don't apply to me. That don't apply to you, Coach.
They have extreme confidence. They believe that they're the one that can do it. So it's still difficult to relay that message to really good players because they have that self-belief. But again, my experiences lend some credibility to my words when I'm offering that stuff to those guys. So my playing career has definitely been a big time assist for me since I've become a coach. Yes, sir.
Right. Talk real quick, and I'll let Kevin take over. Most guys who played at a high level and were pros don't necessarily have to pay their dues in coaching. But you paid your dues to get all the way to Creighton, and we'll talk Creighton basketball next. But talk a little bit about your journey to getting to where you are.
Well, I was a really good college player. I got a chance. I was a second-round draft pick. I played in the NBA for only a year, and then, I played another 10 years in Europe. So, I'm not the 10-year NBA vet that's a semi-household name. You know what I mean? So, that in that regard, I still had to pay my dues. I think one of the main things that I had to fight early on when I was trying to break into the business was the assumption that, good players didn't understand the grind of coaching. So, that shadow was cast around me when I first started, but I never had a problem working. I think, to become a good player, I put the work in, and I was willing to do the same thing as a coach. And, my whole thing in terms of this coaching journey is to be regarded as a good coach, just the way I was regarded as a good player. And those are two separate things, man. So, I've always realized that from day one that, my coaching career is separate from me as a player. And, it was a clean slate, and I had to prove myself in this realm. So, I had no problems putting the work in and grinding for it.
Yeah, Coach, and being at Creighton, I know you said you were a big East guy growing up. I mean, obviously Creighton wasn't in the old Big East, but how cool is it for you, and how much was it sell in recruiting of, like, the Big East was the thing when I was growing up, and now being a coach in the league? I mean, talk through that kind of relationship there.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because as big of a Big East fan that I was when I was growing up, I passed on it when it was my turn to go to college. I just wasn't enamored with the schools within the Big East that were recruiting me at the time. I had some favorites that weren't recruiting me, so I chose a different route. But to come full circle at this point, it's been special, man. And to get a chance to play not only to these big time traditional powerhouses that are part of our league, but I love the cities that we go to in terms of the road trips. Not because they're major metropolitan cities, but they're basketball places with very knowledgeable fan bases. And I went to school at the University of Texas, obviously, and I still love my college football on Saturdays, and I had some awesome experiences as a student athlete going to football events. But it's also something about being in a basketball only league, and like I said, knowledgeable fan bases all across the league. And then if there's an article about our league in June or July, it's about basketball. It's not about the football season coming up. So I think that's a little bit of an advantage. I like to look at that as an advantage when it comes to recruiting because it's all basketball all the time. And, it's high level stuff, man. So to be a part of it at this point, obviously Villanova has been a 2-time national champion over the last few years. You got traditional powerhouses, Patrick Ewing's back at Georgetown, and, obviously Seton Hall, what they've done, Providence. I mean, the list goes on, man. So it's exciting. Every game is nerve-wracking and exciting at the same time. And, you got to be on your A game day in and day out. So, I love it.
Obviously, you guys are an older team. You start 3 seniors and 2 juniors, and talk through how valuable that's been, especially in the COVID season with needing guys who are experienced and not having a normal summer. Just talk through having experienced guys and how that's helped you guys this season.
Well, no, that's been awesome, man, because obviously we haven't had it. Nobody had a summer. No one had a real practice season this fall. So we had a bunch of guys. Excuse me. We have a bunch of guys who have been around. They know the league, they know the system. So that definitely helped us get off to a good start. And we didn't have to go through some of the growing pains that some of the other programs are experiencing. And then to be honest with you, man, we've been lucky, man. We haven't had to pause. We haven't had to shut down. So we've been able to kind of stay in the groove, get in the groove, and stay in a decent groove all the way through, man. But obviously, man, the older teams win at this level. And we're an older team, and I think that's being reflected by, the results that we're getting.
And talk through you guys' road success. It's kind of remarkable. 6 or 7 conference roads. Tough thing to do. Tough to figure out.
Yeah, well, what's weird? What's weird is that we've lost 3 home games, and that's crazy for our group. But again, it just goes back to the experience, poise of our group. Coach McDermott, he's amazing in the fact that you never know if we're playing a bye game or if we're playing Villanova for a Big East championship. I mean, the way he goes about business on a daily basis is just poised. There's no moment's bigger than the next moment. And, that's something our guys kind of live by. So it's a possession by possession thing. We don't get too high. We don't get too low. We just keep plugging away. If we miss 2 or 3 shots in a row, we're capable of making 3, 4, 5, 6 shots in a row. So the temperament of this team has allowed us to be effective on the road.
So we're going in our times. So I know that you are this comedy. You gotta tell before you career you can make what's going on now.
Hey, could you repeat that again, Burton? You sound like a robot over here. Could you do that one more time for me? My bad.
I think he was just going to ask you about, give us a funny story to leave us with. I think he's having some tech difficulties on his end. He's texting me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Funny story, coaching career, being a dad, whatever you got.
You know what? I'm going to give you a story that's kind of funny. Might not be so funny to others, but I thought it was pretty funny. Now, it might not be so funny because the guy is no longer employed at the university for some things that maybe are related. All right, so I was working at Texas State, for a guy named Danny Casper. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Danny Casper. He's an outstanding coach, won a lot of games, and Stephen F. Austin and Cardinal Word at Texas State. So, and I'm saying this because we're in the month of February and it's Black History Month, right? So we have a road game, like I think it's like middle of the week, you know. So we, you know, those Southland Conference, man, you got to get on the bus and drive back from Louisiana. Coach Burt, you know all about those. So you know, we had a game, we drove back, we get back kind of late. But you know, if you know Coach Casper, he's a guy in your seat at 8:30, and he's going to make sure you're in your office at 8:30, right? So I get to work right around 8:30. But I stop in the bathroom before I get to my office. So about 8:33, my phone rings. And mind you, it's Martin Luther King's birthday that day. So my phone rings, and it's Coach Casper. I pick up the phone and say, Coach, what's going on? And it was a classic phrase he said to me. He said, Coach RENCHER, I know what kind of holiday it is today, but we're working. So I said, no, Coach, I'm just in the bathroom. I'll be in there in a second. So that was pretty funny, to be honest with you. And it's one of those things that was kind of, you know, towing the line a little bit. I kind of didn't know where he was going with it, but I thought it was funny. So I didn't make a big deal of it. So, you know, I have a couple guys in the industry who I shared that story with. So every Martin Luther King Day, I get a text early in the morning reminding me that we're working today, even though, you know, it's Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. So that was pretty funny, man. I thought it was funny. I have that type of sense of humor. I didn't take it too serious. I didn't get, you know, take it out of proportion. And, you know, that's one of the few funny ones that are PG rated that I can go into on your show.
I love it. All right, man, we appreciate your time.
Indeed.
Brian's already going crazy here, so we'll figure that out. But I appreciate your time, and yeah, like, good luck the rest of the way. We'll watch.
Let me leave y'all with one thing, man, real quick. I know I saw the end of CARLIN's interview, and you know, you guys asked him about Lou.
Yeah.
You know, Lou was a fellow New Yorker. He's a little older than I am, so we didn't really know each other going back to those days. But since I've been into coaching, man, he was a big time resource for me. Got to know him over the years as a coach, and you know, the thing that really impressed me about Lou, among a lot of things that impressed me about Lou, I got a buddy, childhood friend, one of my best friends, Book Richardson, who, you know, I'm sure you guys are familiar with, the assistant coach from Arizona who got caught up in the FBI situation. Book had to do 3 months in federal prison, and you know, throughout that whole ordeal, Lou would call me every couple of weeks to check on Book, to see how Book was doing through me, and for me to send some words of encouragement through Lou. So, you know, that says it all about that brother, man. You know, that was a huge loss for all of us, and you know, obviously for his family. You know, it still stings. Obviously, it's shocking. Still doesn't make any sense. But you know, all of us in this community, we got to continue to push forward to be the best version of ourselves in respect to Lou, because that's how he was, and that's how he would like us to continue to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still wacky.
Still robot.
No,
Still robot.
Still a robot. I.
He'll bounce out, but yeah, I mean, man, we appreciate it. You know, apologies for the technical difficulties that happens, and you know, like I said, we'll be watching the rest of the way.
All good, Kev. Appreciate it, B. Burton. You guys are doing a heck of a job, man. This is an awesome platform, man. Keep pushing forward, and you know, I'll support in any way I can. Thanks, fellas.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it.
We're back, baby. The audio sounded good. We fixed it.
Took a little bit. All right, we're good now. We're good now. So we're gonna bring in next a tremendous basketball mind. Has been a head coach in the Big 12 at Texas Tech. Is now doing a lot of different things around the game, including commentating and analysts for CBS Sports. And we'll talk straight Lou Hill from the beginning because I know he knew him well, and then we'll get into kind of topics around college basketball. So we got Chris Walker from CBS Sports in the building. C-Walk, what up, my man?
What's up, guys? How you doing, man?
Good, good. Finally got my audio back working, man. My earpiece went out for a minute, but we're good now.
You sound like R2-D2, man. You sound like you watching a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, that's how this technology goes sometimes. But like a good coach, you got to be able to handle adversity, baby. We good.
Got to be to adjust. I actually, it's interesting. You guys had Terrence RENCHER on, a very good friend of mine from New York, and it's going to be a head coach in the future, man. So anytime you guys can bless guys like himself to get on the platform, man, and that's well received, especially from a guy like myself.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We've been blessed to have some really good ones on, including yourself. So we'll jump into Coach Lou Hill first, and then kind of move to other topics. I know you were a Texas coach at many different stops. You're from Houston originally. Lou spent a lot of time coaching Texas, recruiting Texas. Anything you can say about Coach Hill, we would love to hear.
I mean, Lou was just a very solid person. It was very, how shall I say, shocking when I received the phone call. Alan Branch actually texted me and said it to me, but and it's one of those things that I've been somewhat vigilant about. Whether you agree kids should be playing or not playing, whether COVID was the reason or not the reason that exacerbated his sickness. Forget about all those things. Basketball is not bigger than life. And unfortunately in this business, and I've been there, and it's probably one of the reasons, dare I say, that I haven't coached, I haven't been back on the sideline, is that I honestly believe that you do this for about 20 years, man, it takes a lot of dog years. I mean, it's like dog years. 20 years is like 80 years. Like it takes a lot of stress. You got to win at a very high level. It's unforgiving as far as the media. It's unforgiving as far as fan base. People want to win quicker than they can. The last job I was at with Cal Berkeley, I think that the university completely did my former boss a disservice, and the way they let him go, and based on the success they're having now, too much of that is going on. And Lou Hill, again, he had that program moving in the right direction, and he should have been a head coach 10 years before that. And so, I have a lot of emotions that boil over in that situation, but, I know Lou's in a better place right now, but it also should be a wake up call for other coaches to go out, to de-stress, go out. This is bigger than basketball. Your health is bigger than basketball, but more importantly, we're not curing cancer here. And I've been working long enough, and B, you know this too. Too many of these coaches act like there's nothing else that ever exists in this world. And I'll even throw a shot at Coach for what he's just, and what the story that Terrence RENCHER just told. To me, I'm just a guy that keeps it real. I think that's absurd. How about that? So I have my feelings on this business, and again, I don't want to hijack it. And we're talking about a tribute to Lou, but he was phenomenal. He was a serious guy. He was a straight New Yorker, and he was just a pleasure to be around. And he's definitely going to be missed.
Yeah, and I thought your comments there were interesting, and I think a lot of people don't understand the grind that this business is in coaching, and just tell me more. Explain to people who don't understand, like what makes this business such a grind, and how you would change it. I mean, obviously, like you said, finding a bigger perspective, but what do you think about the state of the business right now?
It's I'm one of those guys that I'm an outlier when I just wish that we could be a little bit more honest about what's going on. First and foremost, for me, I think that from a representation standpoint, that there's far few African American head coaches. I think it's shameful in a sport that has 70% kids that play the sport. You may have less than 20% that are African Americans if you take out, African American coaches, if you take out the MEAC and the SWAC, which have all Black coaches. I think it's absolutely absurd. And I think that and it's shameful. And I know we're moving in a different direction in this country, but we're not moving fast enough when it comes to that. And I'm not a victim, but I know a lot of guys that have been, and I can name them. And the guy you just interviewed is a guy as well that should have been a coach, should have been a head coach, should have got an opportunity, and it's just not happening quick enough. That would be the first thing. The second thing I would talk about is the recruiting. I think there's too many coaches out there just not being honest with kids. And I'll even fault myself when I was in the business in my earlier years, my latter years, I was just brutally honest about just really just telling the truth about there's a difference between recruiting someone and coaching someone and putting these unrealistic expectations out there on kids, thinking that they're going to have an opportunity to play for pay one day. It's interesting. I just got a text today from, I have to keep bringing his name up, Alan Branch, and he sent me the G League rosters, 18 teams that's in the bubble. And so I sent it to a couple of guys that I do some work with, or guys that I've been connected to, and who have kids that are, potentially, thinking that they can play in the league, which, I don't want to be a dream killer, as they say, quote unquote. And I say, look at the guys that are in this league, former pros, McDonald's All-Americans, one and done guys from Europe, and guys where they were all conference in their league, and they can't play in that league. So if you're the third leading scorer, if you come off the bench, I don't care if you play at Virginia, right? The best player is the only guy playing in the NBA. And guess what? He's struggling to get in. And so what I'm saying, my point is that college coaches too many times, oftentimes, are just straight out just BSing kids and BSing parents. At the end of the day, let's keep it 100 and really get parents in the framework. And I blame the parents too, of trying to get a quality education, and not focus so much on the outcome of what their playing career is going to be like. And again, the way we recruit, and I've been on college coaches on the air, and I've been on them personally, tell them the truth. Yes, you may lose a kid, but guess what? You're going to lose them anyway to the transfer portal. Because guys, I don't know if you know this, if you look at any roster, and I would challenge anybody to do this, whoever listens to this show, each program gets 13 scholarships, and usually they use them all. There's only 8 guys. If you look at every box score, only 8 guys are going to play. So that means after every game, usually these coaches have a problem with 5 guys every single game. And multiply times another 5. If you put their parents in there, that's 10. You put their AAU coach in there, there's 15 conversations they have to have after every game, and every coach knows what I'm talking about. And it's just running rampant. And so we're creating this crazy world where people just want to just add water situation to their life, where they think they can go to the NBA. And just look, and how about this? Kansas, this is the first time in 60 years. Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Michigan State, and I want to say Duke have not been in the top 25. So now think about this. Kevin, every one of those guys on those teams, even though think they're going to the NBA. Vernon Carey was the player of the year in high school. He is on a G League roster right now. Trey Jones was the Atlantic Coast Conference player of the year, G League roster. So what I'm saying is, it's just too much nonsense going on out there, and no one's focusing on education. No coaches talk about it. They placate it. The parents act like they care about it. At the end of the day, it's a business, and I'm glad they brought the NIL in. I think it's been long. It's been long awaited, shall I say, where players should get paid. There's no way. I remember, and I'll digress after this. I remember Texas A&M football put a $400 million renovation on their football field. And I'm saying to myself, so let me get this straight. There are kids that line up every day, they go to practice, that work their butts off because they want to play in the NFL, which only a handful of them will. And this school can put $400 million on a renovation, and they don't have to give the player $1. Now, drive about 3 hours to Arlington, and there's another team that takes place that has a football team, my favorite team, called the Dallas Cowboys. And they get to pay Dak Prescott $40 million to play the same sport. And Texas A&M is printing money, and so is Jerry Jones. I just think there are some things that need to be fixed in the business. Recruiting is one. Pay the players is number 2. Figure it out. They figure everything else out. And there will be coaches that, we don't want this, we don't want that. And I'll make this one point before you guys jump in. In 1970, I heard an interview one time. Coaches probably made about $1,000 a coach, right? Make $1,000. Right. Scholarships were free. I mean, I don't like to use the word free because they work for them. So scholarships didn't cost kids. Coaches now make $4, $5, $8 million a year. Scholarships are still cost free. So the world has improved for the coaches immeasurably.
Right.
Right? Immeasurably. But the players, but they get good, when they get the fly private, so does the coach. When they get food whenever they want, so does the coach, right? When they get a free education, coach gets a free car. Coach gets free this, free that. What I'm saying is I just don't understand why. And again, I don't like to make things racial, but in the sports that matter the most in college sports, when it comes to revenue drivers, is basketball and football. Well, who plays those sports? And so unless we're going to have an honest conversation, you got to miss me on all that stuff. And that's what, all this, activism stuff is coming. I'm like, yo, listen, I hear you guys, but if you want to have a real conversation, let's have one. But if you want to placate and just make people feel good and have coaches jump on podcasts and say this, when the name of their building was one of the most racist coaches ever in the history of college sports, when we're gonna tear down statues of government buildings, tell them they can't wave flags. But in universities where they want to sing a school song that's racist, or they want to keep a name on a building that's racist, it's all fun and games till it meets your doorstep. So I think there's just got to be a lot of stuff that needs to be changed. And change is good, man. It's good for the game. It's good for the game. I can name 5 million changes that we made that a lot of guys have lost their careers over. And I'm like, why would a guy lose his job over text messaging? Just because, you know what I'm saying, Brian? When it happened in a time when text messaging, you didn't get you didn't get unlimited. The rules didn't catch up with technology. Right. And you have guys that have lost their lives and lost their careers on just the dumbest stuff in the world. Right. And then again, as they say, every time North Carolina commits I'm not saying North Carolina commits violations, but every time North Carolina commits a violation, they ding Prairie View for 10 of them. That's just the way that stuff works. It just needs to be an overhaul. Hey, I hope Craig Robinson can get it done. The fact that he's Obama's brother-in-law, let's get Obama involved instead of, Craig's good. Let's get Obama involved and let's put some common sense. Condoleezza Rice, let's get some common sense thinking here and get a dude who actually knows the game involved. I mean, I was long-winded, but I got a lot to say about that stuff.
I see. I love it. I appreciate the Lou Hill. I appreciate the you being candid with those comments there. I guess the last thing I'll just say is anything else, Kevin, you have or Walker, you have that you want to specifically touch on? Because I don't know if I need to necessarily ask a specific question. Just let you have the floor, man. It's ISO, man.
Kevin, what you got for me, Kevin? You got anything for me?
Yeah, who do you think are the coaches who are doing it the right way right now? Yeah, you talked a lot about all the problems. Who are the coaches that you would highlight as the guys that are worth highlighting doing it the right way?
Well, let me say this. I don't want to say there's guys that are doing it the wrong way, but obviously I work with Jay Wright, who is phenomenal. I think a guy like Steve Alford. I can just talk about the guys I've worked with.
So for context too, you played at Villanova. Played at Villanova. You're
Nova.
From Houston. You've been an assistant at New Mexico. You've been an assistant at Cal. You've been an assistant at
all over.
All over. So just for context.
Yeah, worked in the Pac-12. I've been associate coach 5 times. I worked in the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big East, the Atlantic 10. I mean, the Big 12. I've been all over, and I had an opportunity to be the head coach at Tech a while back. I actually worked with Chris Beard for a short time. He's doing a magnificent job, shall I say. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, guys, when this COVID thing is over, there's going to be some opportunities for people to kind of sit back and recollect their thoughts, as they delve into this NIL thing and they really just start to think about, are we doing right by the kids? And I know people, amateurism is going to die. Amateurism has been dead. Amateurism has been dead. There's too many people with their head in the sand about what's going on. And I'm not talking about cheating and all that. I hate when people use that word. But at the end of the day, man, let's do what's equitable. And that's not included. Again, we know that there's an issue with Title IX. We know inclusivity is a thing, and we know those certain things aren't revenue drivers. We got to deal with that, right? We've been dealing with it forever. Let's deal with it, and let's make it as fair as possible. But we can't act like we can't deal with the situation because it seemed like it's an insurmountable task when we can figure it out when it comes to the coach's salary. We can figure it out when it comes to the coach, but we can't figure out when it comes to the kid. So last time I checked, you can have the nicest Ferrari on the road, but without any gas, where was it going to go? You know, and so we have to find a way to do better by these kids. And I for one, man, I'm just like flabbergasted by this transfer portal and how these kids are transferred. I know certain kids, and I don't want to put kids on blast and stuff. They'll be at a high, and this is what I want to challenge parents. They'll be at a high academic school. I won't even bring the school up or the kid up. And I'll be like, so listen, can we have an honest conversation? The answer's no. The answer's no, right? And your son won't play in the NBA. Like, it's just not possible. Like, it's not possible. I don't care what you think or what you feel. It's not possible. Why would you leave this education? Like, you're getting a free education at one of the best schools in the world. What are you doing? I just want to give myself a chance. And then they'll go to some school that I'm like, are you serious? A school that you can never pay for. God bless you with the ability to play basketball. And just so happened that you playing basketball affords you a chance to go to one of the best schools in the country that people pay $70,000 a year to go to. And what do? You leave because you don't understand that the coach that you're going to play at that level wishes he was the coach of the school that you're leaving. But again, you just can't make this stuff up, what kids do. And then that's why I like that G League article. And I'm like, I like to get a kid to say, go through this article real quick and tell me where you fit in. And invariably they'll see all those names. Hey, Big 12 player of the year, first team all Big 12, first team all MAC, first team this, first team that. And what did you do? I averaged 4 points a game. But you're a dream killer, coach. I got a chance. I'm like, oh my God, son, come on, man. And then you could tell the parents, that's my baby. And they don't want to see the truth until guess what happens? When the ball doesn't bounce anymore and they have to sit in front of someone at a job interview. And they don't know how to interview. They don't know how to put a resume together. They don't know how to put on a suit. They're putting tube socks on with dress shoes. They don't know how their suit, the arms on the suit is too long, and they have no idea how to function in the real world, and they're not employable. That's what we're dealing with, guys. I mean, we're dealing with insanity. I know people may not talk about it on the show, and whatever you guys talk about, I hear you about the basketball piece, but if you're talking about a disservice that's being done, that is the disservice that's being done. People aren't being honest with kids. And you know, to be honest with you, it doesn't happen on the girls' side. It really doesn't, because they actually have it more intact than the boys. This stuff's happening on the boys' side, particularly football and basketball, where everyone thinks just because you want something, it should happen. Where I paid for a trainer, Kevin. Kevin's going to have his little son running around, and he can't run faster than you know what. And he says, but I paid for training, and I paid for this service, and I paid Paul Biancardi to put him in the top 100, and no one recruited him. Why? You know what I'm saying? Why? Like, Kevin, don't work like that, man. But it should. And then listen, and then some AAU coach, well, he'll be, you know, $200,000 in the hole from some AAU coach. You know what I'm saying, B? Flying teams all around, and next thing you know, he's like, wow. Do you know how many kids, this is the last time I said, you know how many parents that have, I wish I could just have a forum for parents, but they won't listen, that have wasted thousands upon thousands of dollars. If I sit in front of them and say, hey, if your son wanted to be an NFL quarterback and he was 5'8", right? I would tell you he has no chance because he's too short. And they probably would listen, right? Or I'd say, listen, your son wants to be offensive tackle. If he's not 6'5", 300, it just doesn't work. He's 6'1", he's 5'11", whatever. They'll never put him in the NFL. But if you try to say that to someone in basketball and say, hey, he's 4'9", and he'll never play, they will cancel. It'll be cancel culture, Kevin. Brian, it'll be cancel culture if you tell somebody that their kid can't play next to LeBron. It'll be cancel culture. You can't tell a parent. I'm just being honest. And it's because of the EYBL and the gauntlet and all, and the Under Armour, whatever they call it. I mean, it's because they're so crazy. And the last thing I'll say is social media has made them that way. Social media has made them nuts. Kevin's probably going like, yo, you're crazy. I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, social media has made these kids all believe that they're on SportsCenter and that everybody wants to see their video. And that, again, I keep saying the last thing I'll say. If a kid thinks that a coach is going to look at a video of him, a highlight of him in 10 seconds and give him a $50,000 scholarship. I want the job. I want the business, right, of the guy who's telling them that, and they're believing it and spending thousands of dollars. I'm missing out on that because I should own a yacht, because whoever has that business is a G that makes people believe that. I'm just telling you, whoever has that business is unbelievable. I'm just telling you, we got to end this madness, man. We got to start it at that level. And I'm the guy. I blame the NBA. I blame them because they make it seem like it's so easy to get there. You know, they make it seem like, oh, I can go play with LeBron. Like, what? Like, you can play with LeBron. Like, the best player on your team ain't gonna even play with LeBron. I mean, those are conversations that are hard to have with people.
Right.
You know, it's like telling Kevin, you're cool, but you ain't gonna be president of the United States. What do you mean I'm not gonna be the next president of Apple? I'm like, man, probably not gonna happen, bro. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. You're probably a nice guy, you know, probably a great student, but you're probably not gonna be the next president of Google. That's ridiculous. I hate you. That's what we're dealing with when it comes to basketball.
Right.
Anyway, I know I'm going off on a tangent.
No, you dropped the mic. You dropped the mic. I was going to tell us a quick funny story before you go. We got to get our next guest on.
Oh, my bad. Oh, man, I got a quick funny story. Huh. Oh, man. Whoa. I have, man, now that's a tough one. I wish I would have been a little bit prepared for that one because I got a million of them. I got a funny story. It happened. I was at Pepperdine because I got the Pepperdine Pepperdine St. Mary's game on Saturday, and somebody sent me a picture. I was a lot skinnier back then, but somebody sent me a picture, and I'm looking at the picture, and I'm like, wow. And I remember we played. It was our first year there. It was only that 1 year. We won the league. It was actually we beat Indiana in the NCAA tournament. It was we were the first team in the WCC to get an at-large bid. Everybody talks about Gonzaga, but back in '99, we were the first team to really, do it at that level. But they were still good though. The story was we were going to Puerto Rico. We were going to Puerto Rico the next morning. We practiced. We go home. I overslept. I overslept, and I was the coach because when you're at that mid-major level, you got 9 jobs. You're like a Jamaican coach. You got everything. You got to get the scouting report, and that was before social media and computers and whatever you want to call it. I was the guy that had all the tickets and all the money, and I missed the bus, and I caused the team to miss the flight.
Wow.
To Puerto Rico. Wow. Yes. True story. Wow. And I was like, I couldn't even look at anybody, right? They're looking at me like crazy. It was like a 5 a.m. Takeoff from Malibu to LAX. Next thing I know, we ended up, thank God, by the grace of God, everybody could get on the next flight. We got there, went there, and won the tournament. So then everything, so no one ever talked about it, but it was like
all's well that ends well.
You know that even the best of us have our worst moments, but sometimes you can turn a frown upside down. Winning heals everything, shall I say?
No doubt.
I mean, I'm sorry to hijack. Now I was supposed to be off a long time ago, guys.
No, you're good. You're good. We're gonna have to have you back. Kevin says you're gonna take my job. He doesn't know that I actually got inspired by you a long time ago in the Chop Shop doing this in the first place. So we'll have to have you back for a full show one day and just go coast to coast with you. But appreciate you coming on.
Take care, brother,
and look forward to it again soon.
No doubt. Y'all take care, man.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was a jam-packed power play. I'll let Kevin say.
You solved the world's problems in 30 minutes.
No doubt. Did it quick. So we're going to go back to the SEC. We're going to bring on Desmond Oliver, assistant coach, and talk about the year that they're having and talk about his career and talk about Coach Barnes. So we're going to bring Desmond Oliver in. Coach, how you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us, man. Let's talk about Tennessee and what you guys are doing. I think the best is even yet to come for this team. You guys have shown some amazing flashes, and definitely Coach Barnes knows what he's doing at a high level. Talk about Coach Barnes and what makes him so good, and then talk about his team if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, Coach Barnes, for one, he's just got an incredible track record for building programs, developing players, and winning. Winning a lot of games and championship caliber teams. We arrived here six years ago. I came in with Coach, and Tennessee was kind of a struggling program in the sense of I think Pearl has some really good years here. Kwanzaa came in, had some really good years here. And for a year or so, they were sputtering near the bottom of the SEC. And coach's vision was real simple. He felt like within a year or two, if we signed the right guys that with player development, doing a really good job of evaluating talent, we could get this thing headed back in the right direction without having to get 5-star players. And we got lucky enough to go out there and get Jordan Bone and Jordan Bowles and Grant Williams, and we inherited that Admiral Schofield. And just like that, just rolling our sleeves up and grinding, and keeping the main goal of graduating student athletes, winning championships, and helping these guys reach their dreams in mind. We've kind of slowly built something really special. And I think this year's team, we've been blessed to probably have the most talent, collective talent from 1 to 13 that we've had in 6 years. But we're new in terms of this team has not played together before. We're new. We're younger than what we've been, but our young guys are pretty special. So far so good. I think we're 13-4. We beat Georgia last night in a very physical, competitive, tough game here at home. And just really excited, to move forward and just continue to get better every day as a program.
Yeah, and Coach, I'm curious. I mean, obviously, when you bring in a class of players like guys like Williams, guys like Schofield and Bone, it changes the entire trajectory and the perception, of the program. How important, how much did those guys change and redefine the perception of Tennessee and what you guys wanted to be under Coach Barnes?
I mean, words can't describe how important they were to our program. I'll say this: outside of winning games and winning championships, Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams, Jordan Bone, all those guys, Monte Turner, they were the best recruiters in our program. Grant Williams, his sophomore year, came in one day and he says, "Coach, any and every recruit that comes here for an official visit that you guys want, I want you guys to put them with me." He said, "Because I want to sit down and talk about my journey, what you guys have done for me as a student athlete in terms of helping me get better and my development." And so really he and Admiral, I think, for over 2.5 years, took on that job of just kind of being host for every kid that was coming on visits. And we got most of them. We had a high success rate of signing players when they came to Tennessee for official visits. And certainly, I mean, it's an incredible campus. We got great leadership, but when your players are bought in, when your best player is bought in to what you're doing, and they're saying all the right things to the right people, it makes it a whole lot easier to get the job done as far as getting kids that want to come on board and play for you.
And talk about, with this group in particular, it's kind of a weird mix. I know you said you guys are young, certainly, and you are, but it's a weird mix of older guys like Fulkerson and Pons who've been in the program for a long time, and younger guys like Johnson and Springer who are potential first-round picks and one-and-done guys potentially. How have you guys went about integrating so many different faces all into one team, and how has that process went? Obviously, you guys had a COVID issue that slowed down your start to the season. How has that process been, and is it still ongoing?
It's still ongoing. It's been a very different process, with COVID being in front of all of us, in the sense of having to live with it. Since the end of last season, we got our season cut short, SEC tournament cut short. We were on the court ready to play, a game last March, and they came in and said, "You know what, that's it." So we've had to deal with it for a long time. I do think that our growth has been stunted because it hasn't been a normal transition from high school to college for our young guys. And as a team, we haven't had the normal camaraderie with having a full deck of cards, in the sense of having all of our guys available from, since June. The season began basically with us saying that our veteran guys would lead our team. We felt like John Fulkerson, we felt like Pons were two, seniors that had been through all the wars, and we had hoped to bring our freshmen along slowly and not put that pressure on those guys to come in and be world beaters. And on top of that, we had, Josiah James and Santiago Bisco. We had some guys that played last year as freshmen that were returning as sophomores that are also very special players. So we hope to just kind of integrate, lead by example with our veterans, and we did that. And what's happened is, our players in general, even though we're playing well as a team, if you watch us play, we're still trying to find that perfect game where we get a great game from John Fulkerson and a great game from E. Pons on top of the contributions that Josiah James has given us, Keon Johnson, Jaden Springer, Santiago, BJ Bailey. Still trying to get that perfect game where we hit on all cylinders and our top 7, 8 guys are playing at a high level at the same time. What it's been is 2 or 3 guys may step up offensively and lead us, and maybe 2 or 3 guys don't have their best game and they struggle some. So I'm excited because I do think this. I think that by the time March gets here, that we'll start to really peak and be playing our best basketball, and those freshmen won't look like freshmen anymore, and our seniors, who are kind of going through a period right now where they're struggling a little bit with different things, are going to hit that stride like most seniors do and play their best ball of their careers at the right time.
And those 2 freshmen, obviously, it seems like Springer has really put it together in recent games. 23 against Kentucky, 30 last night against Georgia. Obviously, Keon Johnson as well had the 27-point outburst against Kentucky. You talk about their growth and how they've been able to get comfortable and established, and as well as talk about their upside. And what is the ceiling for those 2 guys who, for my money, are as talented as anybody in college basketball right now?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, their growth has been one where they came in not knowing anything about Tennessee basketball other than what we had told them in recruiting. It's one thing to talk about what we do and then to get here and have to execute. Like, for example, we've always prided ourselves on being a team that defends, rebounds, runs, and executes. Well, when you get here and we talk about running and playing fast and playing, 94 feet, the amount of physical energy it takes to do that for newcomers is overwhelming. So trying to get those guys in the best physical peak, shape possible, has been a challenge. I think like most freshmen, again, not having a true summer where guys could come in and train without having these pauses and shutdowns, they struggled and they got off to a slow start. I think the first game for both Keon and Jaden, I think Jaden played 9 minutes against Colorado, and I think Keon played like 13 or 14 minutes. And you know what? The world was about to end. We're talking with, family and high school and AAU coaches. That was a major deal. And we knew that it would take time, and we hoped and we expected a quick turnaround where those 9 and 14 minutes turned into 20 plus and high production. And it's happening right now at the right time where those guys are probably 2 of our best players. They're very coachable. They're very, very unselfish, and they're playing their best basketball. But the good thing is, even though they're playing at a high level, we've got other guys. Like, so if Keon has a bad night against LSU on Saturday, if Jayden has a bad game, Josiah James can step up and has. Santiago can step up and has. BJ Bailey can step up and has. Yep. E. Pons is playing really well right now. Fulkerson is one of the best bigs in the country who's going through a little bit of a tough time right now. We're getting his stride back. But we all know what he can get done. Last year, I think 12 games of the SEC season, he averaged 18 points a game. And we felt like if we had a few more games to play, he could have ended the season being the SEC Player of the Year. So a lot of good things still to come. I think the best is in front of us still as a program.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. Talk real quick about your journey to get to Tennessee, and then also, lastly, end us with a funny story if you don't mind.
Well, my journey is simple. I'm born and raised in Buffalo, New York. Grew up on the east side of Buffalo, and I'll say this early on. My mom, grew up being raised by a single parent, only child in my household, and my mom from day one was really focused on establishing a mindset with me. She wanted me to be a hard worker, be organized, and to have dreams. And her biggest dream for me was going to college. So early on, I used basketball as a vehicle. I used academics as a vehicle to get there. I played 1 year of high school basketball. So I kind of overheard the end of, Chris Walker's, discussion with you guys a few minutes ago, talking about some of the crazy parents out here, that expect their kids to be NBA players. My mom really just wanted one thing: find a way to get college paid for, go to college and find your way. Leave the neighborhood, educate yourself, network with those that can help you in the business world, and do it through basketball. And if you're blessed enough or lucky enough to play beyond that, God bless you. But she never talked about the idea of me continuing on and being a professional player. It was always about academics. I graduated from Dominican College, where I played at for 3 years and started for 3 years, earned a scholarship to grad school. And the goal was always to get a PhD and become something in higher education, a director of a program, maybe president of a university or college. I wasn't really sure, but it was to make sure I did something in higher ed to help young people like myself reach their dreams. And all of a sudden, in '94, Jack Armstrong offered me a job at Niagara University, and I became administrative assistant and then assistant basketball coach, and it's led to 27 years of coaching Division I basketball at every level. So I've been blessed. I've been a lot of places, coached a lot of really good players at different levels, a lot of different conferences, and won championships, helped turn programs around. I think we've helped impact communities with basketball and just giving back the right way. Now I've been married now for over 17 years. I've got 2 boys at home, a 16-year-old who played tonight, an 11-year-old as well. And really, I met my wife through basketball, in terms of another coach introduced me to my wife. So the game has been tremendous for me. And I love the fact that I'm able to get back and find others like myself that dream, and that scholarship becomes something that allows them a chance to leave their situation and go become educated and rub elbows with those that can change their lives. Because, it's bigger than making shots. It's bigger than making layups. And at Tennessee, we do teach that. Like our guys are not going to be blinded with thinking it's all about the NBA and making money. At least, from my perspective, I'm really big on what is your plan B. So when you're 25 and 30 years old and you're not playing overseas or the G League is not enough money for you, what do you have in the bank right now in terms of connections and abilities to go get you a 9-to-5 and make money and have a regular life, have a real life outside of basketball. So we talk about that routinely. I'll say this to you, my kids, again, my 2 young fellas here at home, my 16-year-old, when he was 14 years old, my wife and I said, we got to practice what we're preaching, because she had heard me talking to all these recruits about life after basketball. She said, well, you know what? Why can't Dante, my oldest son's Dante, why can't Dante, because he has a love for video and a love for training and working out, take his likes and loves in those areas and find a way to go make money and maybe start his own small business. So I have a 16-year-old at home that has 2 businesses. He's a trainer. He's got maybe 8 or 9 kids that he trains on a regular basis, for not a ton of money, but he makes money doing it. And he has a video business where he makes highlight videos for his high school teammates and AAU teammates. So I'm trying to practice what we're preaching at Tennessee with my own kids. Again, growing up without a father, just doing what I've learned from coaching, and it works. If you don't brainwash your kids with things that might not be attainable, or allow them to chase their dreams, or have a plan B and a plan C, I think they'll be successful down the road for sure.
You're muted, BB.
I got it. It's like we say in coaching, right? There's you are what you emphasize.
No question. No question. Now, story. I got one. So in '94, Jack Armstrong hires me as an administrative assistant.
Okay.
'95, I get bumped up 2 spots. I skip the op spot and go right to full-time assistant coach. I'm on the road at my first AAU event. And listen, I don't know a high major from a low major. I'm watching Sam Ryan's AAU team play. They're playing some team in Philly. And I'm watching these 2 dudes, man. There's a 6'5" skinny dude that's getting buckets. There's another 6'5" dude that's hitting all kinds of fadeaway jump shots and shooting the lights out. So the game ends, and back then you could actually go talk to the AU coaches after the game and ask questions about their roster. So I walk over to Sam, and I said, Sam, I really like whatever the number was, number 6, man, and number 22. And Sam looked me up and down. He looked at my polo and saw that it was Naga University in the MAC conference, mid-major, and he smiled. He said, well, listen, Coach, I appreciate you saying that. He said, but those 2 guys over there, man, that didn't play a whole lot are getting recruited by half your league. I think those are the guys you want to keep your eye on. He said, those 2? He said, that's Rip Hamilton and Kobe Bryant. So I knew right then, I said, you know what, I have a lot of growth to do as far as learning how to do this job at a high level.
And Coach, and you're doing it at a high level now. So obviously the lesson was learned. Thanks so much for coming on, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way. Tell Coach Barnes and Coach Swartz and the staff we said hello, and thanks so much again, and we'll have to have you back.
Sir, thank you. You guys take care.
You too, Coach. Yeah, great stuff from another high-level assistant coach from Tennessee. Now we'll go high-level former assistant coach to now high-level head coach. We will have Coach Jay Crafton on from Maryland Eastern Shore. Is going to be a great one. Coach, how you doing?
What's going on, guys? Kev, Brian, appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Yeah, excited to have you, man. Excited to have you. So I'm going to let Kevin take it because sometimes I get a little excited when I know people. So I'm going to let Kevin lead the way, and I'll jump back in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first question, I mean, think the obvious one. I mean, you're at Maryland Eastern Shore. You guys are not playing this season. What has life like been for you and inside your program, and what have you guys been up to the last couple months?
Well, you know what? It's been an interesting journey, and I, as I tell our players all the time, I tell other coaches all the time, you know, whether you're going to be dealing with some type of drama if you're playing during this pandemic, and also if you're not playing during this pandemic, you know. So either way, it's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with. So with our program, what we've tried to do is, you know, take a little bit more time and be more intentional with building relationships and trying to be as creative as we possibly can be during these times. Our guys did go home at the end of the first semester for some time, so they got to see their families. Now they're back on campus. We're back working out, back in the gym, lifting weights and getting back in the weight room next week, and we've been back on the court. So we're excited about the young team that we have. Not a lot of experience here, so we're going to take advantage of this time to keep building our culture, keep raising our team GPA. We're at like a 3.2 now, and just put ourselves in the best position so when the Hawks are back on the court and we're back competing, that we're positioning ourselves to be one of the elite programs in this league.
Absolutely, Coach. So you've been in elite programs. Talk a little bit about your journey, just a little bit there. And then what are you taking from your places you've been that you're instilling in this time you have to lay that foundation?
You know what? I take a little bit from everywhere. You know, I think, you know, the places I've been like Villanova, what we take from there is Jay Wright's extremely high attention to detail and trying to do everything the right way. And I think that I've adopted that into everything that I've done in my career. So my attention to detail is extremely high. And I learned that from Jay Wright. My time at the Naval Academy taught me an incredible amount of discipline. You know, I also served in the United States Navy as a commissioned officer and became a lieutenant. So discipline is a big part of my background. You know, coaching at a Christian college, you know, high morals and standards go with that for 7 years. And also being back in my alma mater where I coached at Nyack College for 7 years there. And then my time in the NBA with the 76ers and working in the G League just showed me a whole new level and exposed me to just a lot of different things, running things at the highest level possible in a high pressure environment. And we take all those things and all those experiences, we put them in a pot, we stir it up, and now we're at Maryland Eastern Shore in our second year, trying to take those things and inspire and ignite a new level of success that this school's never seen at this level. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the experiences I've had. I'm appreciative to all my mentors, and I love the journey we're on here at Maryland Eastern Shore.
Yeah, you work for a Hall of Famer in Jay Wright. It is Black History Month. So as a coach who, even though you work for a Hall of Famer in Jay Wright, how difficult and how challenging is it for Black coaches to be able to have opportunities to become head coaches? Because I think that is something that is vastly out of proportion, right? And it's been talked about now. Maybe more than it has in a while because of the recent things that happened with George Floyd and people wanting to make a push for more equality and more opportunities. So talk a little bit about your journey on that, if you don't mind, and how difficult is it?
You know, we were kicking it about that the other day, B, and it's hard enough to be a head coach in this business for any race, but we all know the dynamics of how harder it even is, how much even harder it is for a minority, African American Black male to become a head coach, or even a female. You know, we know the deal here. So it's extremely challenging. One of the things that I would say is that Jay did a great job with me. Jay Wright he sat me down and he kind of was very intentional with making me take responsibility for learning all aspects of the business. And Brian, you've coached at this, and you know, a lot of times as Black coaches, we get labeled as only being able to recruit. Right. And he was very intentional with having me, you know, work camps and not just work the camp, run the camp. You know, not just see how budgets were done, manage the budget. Right. You know, do the video. You know, track academics, do everything, and held me to an extremely high standard. I saw every intricate piece of how a big time organization was ran, and that stayed with me. So, you know, I challenge all of everybody in the culture to let's change the perception by changing the reality of keep challenging ourselves to do more. You know, and remove that label of we only know how to recruit. And I think that as we see coaches, you know, continue to do that stuff, and then we also get those opportunities, we're able to showcase those things. So I think it's extremely hard, but I also take a lot of ownership in terms of, you know, putting myself in position to be able to dive into a lot of different things to remove the stigma or the perception of that label. And I see a lot of coaches doing that. And it's incredible to see. And I believe Black coaches and head coaches are on the rise right now.
Right. Kevin, I'll let you take your next one.
Yeah, obviously you spent a little bit of time coaching in the G League. And can you just talk about your experience with that and your ties to the league and the NBA still?
Well, I think Brian knows I just did my first broadcast with the Delaware Blue Coats today. And, you know, so getting a little into the TV thing with our season being on shutdown right now. So putting my communications degree to work and so stayed connected with those guys. My experience with the Delaware Blue Coats and the Philadelphia 76ers was so dynamic, great organization. A lot of people talk about just the G League experience, and it's different per every program that you're with, or organization, I should say. With the 76ers, it's one organization where everybody's together. So we had direct access to training camp and being out there and working with the players. And anytime we were off, had an off day in the G League and the NBA team was playing, we were invited to come up, be around practice, help out when needed, work guys out. I got a chance to work out Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons if they weren't playing, you know, and do all those types of things. So it was an incredible opportunity to learn from a program and coaching staff and just an organization that was trying to win an NBA championship and taking those ideals and seeing those different intricacies and trying to apply it to the college game. Great experience.
Yeah, Coach, we talk about having funny stories on here. Anything funny that's happened. You guys obviously aren't playing this year, getting a lot more time with your guys in a different way. Is there anything funny that you'd like to share that maybe you can give some insight to, or kind of just reveal about what happens behind the scenes now?
Well, you know what? I'm a pretty technologically savvy guy, so but today we just could not get the Zoom thing right. Like we were trying to do a Zoom meeting and do some scouting report stuff and put together some things as if we were playing a game, and it just was just a debacle. So I saw our guys; they were kind of laughing a little bit, and we kept sending the link out, and everything kept freezing. We never got past the third slide, so it was we stayed on the driver's slide. You know, in a personnel report for like 40 minutes. And I was so determined. I know my guys are laughing at me right now. We were like, we're going to beat this. This is like COVID-19 trying to stop us, but we're going to beat it. So I'm sure our guys had some fun with that. So we ended up having to cancel it out and try to do it tomorrow, hopefully with a better Wi-Fi reception.
No doubt. We've had our moments here on this on this broadcast similarly enough. So we definitely can relate. Happens to the best of us. We'll let you run, Coach. Any last words you'd like people to know just about your program, what you have in store, what your vision is, just anything else you'd like people to know that don't know about a place like Maryland Eastern Shore?
Maryland Eastern Shore is a beautiful place, not too far from Ocean City. Incredible campus. We got a brand new president in Dr. Heidi Anderson. She's doing some really unique things. Keith Davidson, the athletic director, has been here for a long time. I've known him for over a decade. We've got a nice, young, talented team that's eager to play. And the Hungry Hawks, as we'll probably label ourselves after not playing this year, we'll be ready to go and be ready to compete, to continue to build this program. And we appreciate all the support. We appreciate the prayers, and we want everybody to stay safe.
Absolutely, Coach. Thanks so much for taking the time, man. Best of success, staying safe, and continue to lay that foundation that way and on the East Coast.
Coast to coast, man. Appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks so much. Yeah, another great one, man. We'll transition. I'll let Kevin give a few words just about all the guests we've had so far. We're going to bring in our next guest who's in the backstage, and then we'll kind of close out the show with our last three.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing that, always stands out is just, hearing different guys' stories and journeys. And I think a lot of guys, it can sound the same because everyone has the like, oh, I was at this school, whatever. I always think kind of the funny stories really tie it together. And I thought that Coach Oliver's story from Tennessee about, going in knowing nothing and being like, I think we'll recruit this kid. It was Kobe Bryant. It's like just the most unbelievable story, and that's what we do it for. So it's been fun again. I mean, we're still wrapping it up here. Got a couple more folks to chat with, but I always learn a lot, and it's been fun. And love going coast to coast. We truly have been coast to coast. I mean, Nebraska, Tennessee, being in Texas, being in Maryland. I mean, every single state in the union we're repping today. It feels like.
Absolutely. We're going to go to the Midwest, and one of the hottest teams in the country, a guy who's done a tremendous job recruiting a lot of these guys there. And a lot of guys on staff, the staff gets credit for getting recruits. Let's not get that twisted. But there's usually a lead recruit who is in the trenches, on the road, developing the relationships and figuring out how to crack the code. And, Coach that we are bringing in has really cracked the code on a lot of these kids and bringing them in. So excited to have one of Drake's assistants in the building. We've had the Drake head coach on Coast to Coast not too long ago. Now we'll bring in another member of the staff. Excited about it. Coach, how you doing? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can, man. I remember the days on the road recruiting and seeing you there in many gyms and us talking about players. I know how good you are at that part. I know you're humble and you probably won't bring that stuff up. So you have a long history of good college basketball behind you. But let's just talk about this year's team and how hard it was to convince some of those guys to join the movement that you guys have going on right there at Drake.
Well, every day is a lucky day. You gotta make sure you have that rabbit's tail with you everywhere you go. I feel like we've got an awesome group of guys. You guys know Coach LB well. Yep. I don't think you guys ever met Coach Gatens. He's new on staff. He's been here on staff, but he's new as an assistant this year. He's a young and coming. He's one of those guys that in 10 years you're gonna be like, he's really good. Well, I think he's really good right now. I've been around a lot of assistants in my lifetime, and I think he's going to be really good at this. And then you guys had Coach DeVries on a couple of weeks ago, and he's a tremendous leader. We're just following his lead, and we're just lucky. You know what I mean? I'm glad I'm here working with these guys. These guys are terrific. I can't say that enough. I get to learn something new every day, which sometimes you work on staff, so you don't get that, and you get that opportunity here.
I love it. Tell us about real quick the recruiting. I know you do it as a staff. I know everyone's involved, but I think that's something you've really done at a high level, and especially with that team there and some of the guys you have there. Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
The most important thing that you forget when you're an assistant in this deal is that you're recruiting not who you like. You're recruiting who your head coach can coach and likes and can coach. At the end of the day, that they can coach them, they can relate to them. And they're good enough to play and help you win games. And that's what sometimes, this is, I think, my 22nd year. And I think about how I recruited when I was younger to how I'm recruiting now is totally different, because when you're younger, you're just trying to sign guys. You don't realize that there's a puzzle to how you put a team together. And the longer I've done this and been around really smart individuals that I've learned from, that they've showed you that, and that's what you just kind of do. And that's what we've been able to do here at Drake. We've been able to piece together the right pieces for coach and put him in front of the right people, and he can hit it out of the park with the final sell and do the Mariano Rivera, the walk-off, once we get him signed on that signing day, and we're all happy. And then all of a sudden they show up and they play well, and they're doing good things, and they make everybody look really good.
Yeah, obviously this was this has been a special team this year, Drake, and obviously the undefeated season ended this past weekend. But just take me through. Was there a moment you remember where you're in practice, maybe in September, October, you said, "Man, we have a potential to be something special"? I mean, maybe not 18-0, but something special.
I wish I was that smart, because I'd be making way more money doing something else. At the end of the day, when we started working with this group, I thought we all like, oh, we've got a chance to be pretty good because we're older. I mean, like, I don't know if people understand that we're an old group. Even though we haven't played much together prior to this year, we're just an older group. We're 22, 23 years old at most of the starting positions across the board. And then they played together. Most of them have played together. 3 of them played junior college together. And then 4 of them played AAU basketball together. So, and they all grew up together. So it helped that part of the learning curve of figuring out how everything works together with everybody. I would say halfway through, like September, you'd be like, oh, we've got a chance to be pretty good, because some guys have progressed along further in some of the roles that they were going to be put in further than what we expected.
I love it. I love it. All right, you got to walk me through what's the matchup? Loyola Drake. It's getting a lot of hype, national TV, et cetera, et cetera. What does it mean, first off, for your program to play in games like this? Nationally televised games against the ranked team, and second off, give us the scout on what you expect to see from the Ramblers this weekend.
You know what? The first thing, national television for mid-majors are so important. Not just being, we're on ESPN2, and you guys know that, but everybody, you're clicking through the TV, and on a Saturday after game day is done at 11 o'clock, if you're not going to watch the Indiana-Ohio State game, or if it's commercial on that one, you flip over to ESPN2 because it's right next to each other on your DirecTV, if you have DirecTV, whatever you have at home, and you end up watching our game. So it's just more eyes on it. But it's, for recruits, it's unbelievable for our level, because you could say, hey, we're on ESPN2. You don't have to try to find it on ESPN Plus. You don't have to try to find it on sometimes ESPNU. Not every TV package has that. That part of it is huge, is just the recruiting aspect of it, where people can see you, not just players, but coaches, junior college coaches, assistant junior college coaches, high school coaches, AAU coaches, assistant AAU coaches that you've been talking to. They can flip to it and find it easy, and they can watch you, and they can get an idea like, hey, this is what he's been telling me they play like. Is he telling me the truth, or is he lying to me? And that's a big thing in this deal of trying to get guys to come to Drake, or if you're at another mid-major, of getting them to come to your institution, is how truthful you've been to them during this process of telling them how you play and what you do. And when they get to watch you live, they get to see, well, yeah, that's right. That's what they're doing. That's so true. And then secondly, Lyle is a really good team. They're terrific. They've got a senior big, Cameron Crutwick, that was a starter on the Final Four team. They've got 6 other seniors to go with them that are really good. They shoot the ball. They're really tough. Their toughness is one thing that people underestimate, maybe from the outside, that don't know their program well. And they are as tough comes. And you get nothing easy. They were 5th in the Ken Palm ratings at the start of the week, and I don't know where they're at now. But they're really good defensively, and they're very efficient offensively. and you have to bring your A game to play with them, to give yourself a chance in the last 8 minutes of the game, and that's all you're trying for.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think everybody's looking forward to that one. In the mid-major world, almost as much as they were Baylor and Gonzaga, they got canceled and maybe not get rescheduled at the high major level. I think everybody's looking forward to this matchup. Your experience, I look at a guy like Nick Nurse, who's coached at the junior college level, at a lower level. You've coached at the junior college level. Nick Nurse has been in every foreign country and used all those experiences to be able to really win in his career. You've been in Ukraine. You started the JUCO in Florida, helped them start a program. You've been at Florida Gulf Coast. You've been with Dan Dockett. You've been with a lot of different variety of versatility as far as your background. How much does that play a factor into you being successful as a Division I assistant coach?
I'll say this much. I've worked for 9 different head coaches in the 22 years I started. So I started back in 1999. So like every guy has taught me something different, and I've been able to pull it and use it in some fashion when I was an assistant or when I was able to run my own program. And that is something I always try to tell younger guys in this business that are starting off. Write down what you in a pen, but like just write it down, because they're going to give you a nugget and you may not remember it 10 years from now if you don't write it down. If you have it written down, you're going to click with you and you can use it. And that is so important. The different guys, the different experiences I've had, I've been at every level besides the NAI level. And that might be the only level, because I was a D3 assistant, D2 assistant, junior college assistant, junior college head coach, Division I assistant at the different levels, low major, mid major, and then I was at Indiana with Coach Hockey. So the experiences of going to different places have been awesome for me. That's really progressed my career and helped me. You know what I mean? It given me a lot of different avenues to recruit different kids and be different places and use different experiences from different guys. Hopefully I answer your question. I know I kind of can go off on a tangent sometimes. No,
perfect answer. Perfect answer. So I got 2 for you to end. This is the closing round. So one funny story, and then you got to give Kevin one bit of advice, because you did some time, if I'm not mistaken, doing some ESPN, maybe scouting or whatever it was. So he's with SI now. He's a big deal. Yep. You got to give Kevin some advice, and you got to give us at least one funny story.
All right, Kev, this is the advice I'd give you. You've got the best initials to your name.
Ooh.
SI. And you don't realize it. Like, I didn't realize it. The 2 years I worked with ESPN, when I called somebody, they called me right back. And I'm thinking, this is what I'm saying. I'm thinking, I was at Bowling Green. I was at junior college. I was at South Dakota, Simpson College. Some of these guys have no idea who I am, but they'll call you back. And that 2 years, I figured it out. I started calling every AAU program across the country, started calling all these junior college, because people would call me back and I could get conversations with them. Division I coaches, assistants, head coaches would call you back because they want to find out about players. And it was the best networking tool I've had in my career. Like, I could say, and Kevin, you have that opportunity. Like, I don't know what you want to do with your career. If you want to be the next Jeff Goodman, if you want to be the next, you know what I mean? Whatever route you want to go. Like, Goodman did that. I mean, he was with ESPN. He was a scout guy before he was with ESPN. You know what I mean? Like, he worked his way up. Now he runs Athletic. That is something that you can do that not everybody can do. And when you have those initials, it goes a long ways. You don't realize it, but it goes a long ways, and you get called back from people that you would not expect. And you can grow your network of your base, whoever you're trying to deal with. Kevin, that would be my piece of advice for you. Funny story. I'm trying to think of a funny story. Oh, my favorite recruiting story. This is my favorite one. So I had a kid. My first year, I'm starting the program from scratch at Florida Southwestern. Nobody in the country knows who it is, besides my buddies. And I bring in a kid named Nick Smith, and I'm trying to convince him. He's leaving Fordham. I know his uncle very well. And his uncle's trying to convince him to take a visit at my place. And I literally have no players, guys. I don't have anybody on campus. I have signed, I think, one player during that whole time, like the year I was trying to put the team together prior, before the April period. So the kid doesn't really want to visit. He tells his uncle, well, I don't really want to go there. And his uncle's like, no, you're going there. And I'm like, great, thank you. Just let me get him on a flight. So he's from Memphis, and he flies in. He's at home for the weekend, so I fly him in from Memphis. And I know he doesn't want to visit. And I know he doesn't want to be there. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw it all out on the board. I'm going to do it right away. So I pick him up at Fort Myers Airport, and he wants to go. Odessa's recruiting him, which is a national power. They've had Larry Johnson. They've had pros come through there. And I get it. Like, I'm trying to fight with Odessa, and I'm Florida Southwestern at the time. And he gets in my car. Like, pick him up. We walk to my car, and I get in the car, and I turn the car on. I look at him. I said, all right, we could do this one of two ways. We can get in the car. I can drive around the airport one time and drop you back off, and we can get you another ticket to go home if you don't want to visit. Or we can drive right down to the beach and go have a nice little meal here and see if this is the place you want to be. And we're driving out of the parking ramp, and he's like, he starts seeing the palm trees, and there's some ponds out there by there. He's like, let's go down to the beach. I said, perfect. About 24 hours later, his uncle telling me, yeah, he's going to come and play for you. He's got to take one more visit and go to Odessa, and because he's already told him, but he's going to come and play for you. You've done a heck of a job. I don't know what you said to him. I told him, I said, he could fly back home right now, or we can enjoy our time at the beach. And he enjoyed his time at the beach. It was interesting because at the end of the day, he had to go to the beach. We had a good time, but when I was putting the team together, there was no players. So I was on not as the assistant, as the head coach, because I didn't even have an assistant at the time, of like, all right, making sure all my meals are set up, what gyms I can get in, because we didn't even have a facility at the time that we're going to work out. I did a little backwards. I worked kids out twice. I worked them out twice during the day. Like, hey, next day we worked out twice. I want to see if you love ball or if you like ball. And kids that came to me there, they love ball because they realized I love ball. And that's my best story. That's my best story in the last couple of years. That one was pretty good to me.
I love it. Well, Coach, excited about what you guys have done. It's been awesome to see, and guys that you kind of go on the road with and you see them progressing their careers. Excited for you. Of course, love LB, and got a chance to he speaks the world to you, and got a chance to meet your head coach on the show, which was tremendous. And what you guys are doing is nothing short of phenomenal, man, and excited for how you guys end the year. Looks like the Missouri Valley is at least a 2-bid league, which is also exciting. Excited for you guys to have this big matchup this weekend. So best of luck the rest of the way, man. Keep up the great work, and keep accumulating those stories.
Hey, man, thanks so much for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. Kevin, if you need anything, don't hesitate, man. Get my number from Coach there, and never hesitate. That's the one thing I'll tell you. Just keep grinding, because I see you everywhere on social media, and that's a great way, man. Keep it going, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much. I'll be in touch.
See you guys.
Okay, Martin. Yeah, great stuff. We're going back to Texas, coast to coast, going to I don't have no words to introduce this guy, man. I'm a fan because I saw him as a player. I'm a Dallas guy. I saw this guy as a player, and what I love about him as a player is that no one thought he could do what he ended up doing. Not one person, other than himself and maybe his family, but I think he even exceeded their expectations. Marcus Smart's backcourt teammate, he always kind of seemed like he was the token guy that, like, okay, yeah, that's just Marcus Smart's boy. But it turns out Phil Forte ended up being an elite college basketball player at Oklahoma State, had a terrific career, and is now doing a great job at Sam Houston State as an assistant coach. and his future is bright, and he's going to have some great stories for us. So excited to have Phil Forte in the building representing Dallas. What up, Phil? How you doing, man?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Man, how was that intro?
I feel big time just being on the show. So Kevin, Brian, thanks for having me. I feel like I've made it now, being on here tonight. So I appreciate it.
I don't know if you've made it, but I think you made it a long time ago when you were making all those threes back in the day. I think you far made it, but appreciate you joining us, man. Appreciate all the support. And yeah, let's just talk about, for starters, give us one. We'll start out with the funny story. Give us a funny Marcus Smart story from the jump. I'm putting you on the spot, but you played AU with him. You played high school with him. You still have a relationship with him. You're still boys to this day. And he's kind of got some funny elements to him as it is. So, you know, what you got for us?
Man, there's a lot. One that's pretty good. So we go on our visit. I can't remember which time it was. We're up in Stillwater on our visit to Oklahoma State. And there's a football game. And so we're there together, obviously. And, you know, Marcus is a top 10, 15 recruit in the country. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone's coming up, tapping him up, and chanting his name at the game. And somehow with our coaches and our family that we were with, we get split up. And so I'm trying to go through the main entrance of Gallagher Iba Arena to get through to the football game. And I'm by myself. And I get up there to the lady. I'm like, hey, you know, my name's Phil Forte. I'm a recruit, and my name should be on the list. She goes, I don't see you on the list. I was like, oh, I promise. Like, I'm on the list. She goes, no, you know, what high school do you go to? I was like, Flower Mound Marcus. She goes, oh, no, you know, one recruit from Flower Mound Marcus campus, he's already in. So apparently she didn't believe that I was there for my visit. But Marcus got in perfectly fine. That's one that me and him always kid about. But there's a lot, you know, that kid with him. There's never a dull moment with Marcus Smart.
No doubt, I love it. I love that. So did you have to actually pay your way to get in, or what did you end up doing?
I called Marcus. That's what's funny. I had to call Marcus. Got a hold of him finally. He came down, talked to the lady, and let him in. So I'm like, oh, because Marcus Smart came down and get me, then we're good, huh?
He got you the green light. I love it. Have you had to use that again since? Like, hey, Marcus, can you just get me in? Have you had to use that at all?
You know, that's the one thing with him is he's to this day he's been, anytime I call tickets, whatever, he's great. But you know, there's a bunch of inside jokes that we have, some that I probably can't say
right
on the air, but there's never a dull moment with him, and he hasn't changed a bit. He still acts like a 10-year-old kid all the time.
No doubt. So we got to get some basketball questions in, but I got two more before I pass it to Kevin. So obviously, as a good player, we just told a little bit of the story in the intro. How did you? I mean, obviously, you had a chip on your shoulder, and you were about winning. But did you exceed your own expectations? I'm assuming not, because you knew what you could do, but everyone else outside of you, for the most part, never, oh, he's not a high major player. Oh, he's not going to be able to get his shot off. Oh, he's not going to be able to guard anybody. Yeah. I mean, you just checked off all those things, like, thanks for the motivation. Thank you. And then you surpassed it, and you had an incredible career at Oklahoma State. So tell us a little bit about that ride, if you don't mind.
Yeah. You know, I heard it all, you know, just all the stuff that you mentioned. I think I was very lucky and fortunate. One, I played for great coaches, whether it was through high school, college. I had really good coaches. And I played with really good players. And I knew that, whether it was high school, whether it was college, I never wanted to be the best player. I knew I couldn't. I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I knew I wasn't good enough. And so playing with, whether it was Marcus Smart, Markel Brown, LeBron Nash, Juwan Evans, they made me look a lot better than I probably was. And I knew I had to have other guys with me to be successful. And I think growing up, I knew that if everyone worked as hard as I did, then I would have no chance to play. With the physical limitations I had at wanting to play at the high Division I level, I knew I had to outwork everybody. And whether it was every game, practice, I almost played scared to a fault. You know, I was just so nervous that I wasn't good enough.
Right.
No, for the longest time, I didn't think I was good enough to play in the Big 12.
Right.
We go on a foreign trip to Spain my freshman year, And so you go, you get the 2 weeks of practice, then you go overseas. We play for 10 days, and the games were okay, but I played terrible. I mean, I think I shot 15% from three. I couldn't get a play right. Coach Ford was yanking me out every 5 minutes, and my best friends over here are already the best player. And so I get back from that trip, and I'll never forget being on the phone with my dad and almost in tears. I'm like, I can't do this. No, I'm not good enough. There's no way. And I'll never forget that conversation. His reply to that, you're thinking your dad, like, okay, no, son, it's all right. His response was, maybe they were right. I was like, what? It got kind of quiet for about 10 seconds. Maybe they were right.
Right.
Maybe you are, Marcus Smart is the only reason you went to Oklahoma State. Maybe you are too short. Maybe you are too slow. Maybe you can't jump. Maybe you this. I was just like, it's just that moment. I was like, you know what, F that. Like, and you just kept working, kept building, and trusting the process, and it all kind of took care of itself. But I'll never forget that moment being in my dorm room that freshman year. Just like, man, how could I do this? So to look back and just see some of the stuff that was accomplished in my college career, it is still kind of crazy to me.
It's got to be a little bit, I would imagine. So I got to leave you with this last one before I pass to Kevin.
Okay.
You played with Marcus Smart for a coach named Vonzell Thomas. Vonzell was just on yesterday, and I asked him the tough question of his top players that he's ever coached.
Yeah.
And so he kind of went through the order, and he said it wasn't in his order, but he went in the order, and he kind of had you a little. I don't know if
I think it was 7. It was 7.
I just want to ask you personally, how did you feel about his ranking for you in his evaluation?
It got to 7. I was like, am I going to crack the top 10? That was my first thought. I'm like, am I going to be 10 on? I mean,
I love it.
Like, I get, Marcus is 1, as always. Marcus Smart's number 1. Like, I get that. Yeah, after I was watching your show, he got a text message from me right away.
I love it. So quick convo on you have an elite player that plays for you. And I know Kevin's going to take the rest of it, but you have an elite player that plays for you, tremendous person on top of that. And you have other great players. You guys have a championship caliber team. You guys are, I believe, winning the Southland Conference right now, tied for first, or only have one loss. But talk about this special player that you have from Bryan, Texas, and what makes him so great.
You kind of touched on it, Brian. He's, first of all, an unbelievable kid. He's unbelievable to be around every single day. He loves it. He loves the game. He loves being in the gym. He has made himself the player that he is now. I mean, that kid, this quick story, this summer, I get a call. It's 3:00 in the morning and I'm asleep. I'm kind of trying to get my bearings. I look over at my phone and it's Zach, 3 a.m. And so first off, my first thought is, oh my goodness, what's wrong? Why is he calling me at 3 a.m.? And I answer the phone. He's like, Coach, you want to go work out? I'm like, am I looking at this right? It's 3 a.m., right? It's 3 in the morning. And he was serious. He wanted to work out. And that's just a tribute to him and where he's come. I mean, now he's making NBA threes. He's one of our best shooters. This year, he's taken a big step as far as leadership and kind of having ownership of our team and being that leader in practice, being that voice besides Coach Hooten during the games. And unbelievable family, unbelievable kid. And I'm very, very lucky to coach someone like that so early on in my career. That's for sure.
So I'm going to come in with the real hard-hitting question.
Okay.
Do your players ever outshoot you in practice?
No. You can ask them. They tried. They've tried. When I first got here, when I first got the job last year, that was the first thing. They all wanted to, whether it's force or make 10 from here around the world. So I kind of slowly, one by one, and now no one wants to. They don't even challenge me anymore.
They earn the respect. They
don't even. It's funny. Like during games or practice, I'll kind of walk over and say, "Hey, you need me to get out there and make a shot for you? You need me to get out here and say how's it done?" That's about all I got, though. I can't play any defense, so I don't do that.
I love it. But kind of bigger than that, like in terms of building relationships with the players. I mean, what does it do to have the career you had in your back pocket? And like a lot of guys, honestly, probably watched you. Like I watched you. when you were balling at Oklahoma State? Like, what does it do for your relationships with those guys? Be like, hey, look, like I've done this, and this is what you need to do, and I can show it to you because I scored whatever it was 1,500 points in my college career.
Yeah, and I think it's just the stories, the memories, what I went through. You know, some of the tough times, whether it was on the court, off the court, that wasn't too long ago. You know, that was 4 or 5 years, and so I could relate to some of the struggles they're having. Sitting down, watching film with them, breaking it down. You know, especially a guy like Zach. We have another kid, DeMarcus Lampley, right now, who are receiving a lot of attention. We play these teams, and so they're not wanting to touch the ball. They're trapping them. They're staying attached. And now I've had that. I've had that happen to me. So showing them kind of how to work through that process, because it is frustrating at times as a shooter when you don't get those looks that you want, and kind of how to go through that and how to combat other team strategies and what they're doing. And so kind of helping them through that and just anything that they're going through. They're kids. I've been there in their shoes, again, not too long ago. So the problem is, Kevin, I think they're more interested in some of the Marcus Smart stories than anything that I have to say. So, you know, those are the things that they're interested in.
I can see why. Tell us about the staff. Obviously, Chris Mudd was recently recognized as one of the top assistants in the league. Coach Hooten's been there for a long time and done a tremendous job. Andre Owens has been a head coach at the junior college level and done an outstanding job at Western Texas College. Tell us about the staff. We already got you on the funny story, so we'll end you with just kind of tell us about the staff and tell us about what makes Bearcat Nation special.
Yeah, for me as a guy that's only been an assistant coach for 2 years, being a part of this group, I've learned so much. You know, obviously, first with Coach Hooten, he's won a lot of games. He had his 200th win this year. I've learned a lot from him, and just working under him every single day, and how he leads our program. And then a guy like Coach Owens, who's been a head coach, and learning from him, who has much more experience than me. Coach Mudge, who has more experience than me as well. I'm just trying, it's like just being a sponge, trying to absorb as much as I can. No different than a player. I think a lot of times, a lot of kids, you know, they go to this one trainer and whatever he says and nobody else. You know, you want to take a little bit of information from everybody. Because I don't have the answers, and I know I still have a lot to learn. Just being around our group has been great for me to learn, become a better coach every single day. And so I'm very lucky to be here. Our staff's great. And I think the best thing that we have going is just how we invest in our kids. I think Coach Hooten is really big on investing in the guys that we have and making them better. We were in a recruiting meeting a couple months ago. This is something I'll never forget. We're talking about recruiting, getting out, watching kids, and he's like, guys, you know, we're spending all this time talking about going to see players and this and that when they're not even part of our family yet. And you know, they're not our family. These 50 guys we have here, that's our family. These are our guys. And obviously, recruiting is important. But I was like, dang, like you're right. You get caught up as a young assistant, especially trying to recruit, trying to call this person, you know, making sure that you're recruiting, working your butt off. But the most important thing you have in those relationships, making them better, investing in their lives and helping them achieve their goals, especially now with the world as kids are transferring. I mean, I think it's twofold. I think it's I think part of it too is I'm losing track of being involved in the kids that they have on their roster. So we're really big on that. And I think that's one of the things that's made Coach so successful over the years. You know, I'm just kind of another piece of the puzzle. I'm just trying not to mess it up. So they've won a lot without me. So I'm trying to keep it going and everything afloat.
Absolutely. We're gonna have a little fun moment here. I'm gonna let this guy give a quick scouting report. I'm gonna introduce Coach Hood from UTSA is gonna come in. We go Texas to Texas. Coach Hood, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. I was gonna give you before we let Phil go, man. Do you ever have to scout against this guy? Like when he played, did you have a scout report? Did you evaluate him when he was playing? Did you think he was gonna do what he did, or what's going on? I know you're an elite scouter, and I know you see past the level that most people see. Did you see that in him doing what he did?
Honestly, shooting the ball, man, or shooting the basketball is there's no price on that, man. If you can make shots and then you have a willingness to defend, I mean, again, the sky's the limit. And he was a little pit bull, man, and could make shots from the volleyball line. So when I saw that, I didn't waste my time. I was like, that guy's going to be a big-time player. But, I mean, it's the work ethic. It's the stories of him getting up in the morning, shooting all the time. And those are the type of things you hear. And guys with that work ethic can play at any level.
We got a comment from, I think we know this guy.
Hello, baby.
Two great guys. Great guy yourself, Coach Dre. And then we got Stephon Leary stepping up. Good guys, and my man Adam Hood, my main man, Stephon Leary. So yeah, I don't know. Did he call you, Phil, when you were getting recruited? Did he try to call you? Were you at Columbia at the time or no?
No, I was actually a little bit before I was there, but I was actually at Boston University. And it just wasn't worth the time at that point. I mean, again, he's Big 12, so I love the Patriot League. I know he's a smart kid, but at that time, I didn't think he would be drinking the Kool-Aid at that time.
Coach, I wasn't smart enough to get into school anyway, so it's okay.
I love it, man. Well, yeah, thanks so much, Phil, for joining us. I had to get the Coach Hood. I don't know if you did. Did you do any analytics on him, Coach? I know you're the Mr. Analytics. Did you do any analytics on Phil by chance?
He was at the right level. That's all you need to know. He was at the right level for what he did. And again,
have you gone back and edited some film for your two? You have two of the best scorers in the country, right? Wallace and Jackson shooters. Have you gone back and got some analytics or film on Phil Forte to show your guys?
No, actually, we have one of his good friends, Taylor Luster, who can tell the story. We actually do, and I'm not lying because he's on here, but we do shooting drills that Phil Forte that he did, and we use those metrics as far as how you're performing. Well, Phil used to do it like this, and again, one of the best shooters in college basketball. That's what everyone strives to be, and to be a great shooter, you got to know you're a great shooter, and the way you become a great shooter is compare yourself to another great shooter. So, no, we have used his metrics and drills that he's done. Taylor Luster has done a great job of sharing that and competing against you in those drills too. So it's always a fun time, man. And again, when you see good players that work hard and do it the right way, man, it's nothing but respect.
I love it. Shout out to your guy, Taylor Luster. He's still dropping dimes for you, Phil. Your AAU teammate with Texas Assault, still dropping dimes.
T-Lust, I appreciate it, baby. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Phil, and good luck the rest of the way. Tell the staff we say hello.
Absolutely. You guys be safe out there. I know the weather's kind of crazy, so thanks again for having me.
Absolutely, and you are big time, too.
No.
All right, man. All right, well, I'm gonna let my main man Kevin Sweeney lead the way. I get a little excited with people I know, so I don't let him lead the way. So I'm gonna step out and let him lead the way.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it, briefly there, but this scoring duo, Wallace and Jackson, and it's been fun to watch them develop. I mean, when you have guys, I guess I'll be kind of specific. When you have guys coming back like that, who've done, everything on the basketball court that you could possibly want to score to do. Well, what's the mindset coming into a senior year? Like, how do you work with them to continue to get better? Because they don't need help scoring the ball. Like, they already know how to score.
No, and that's what we told them from the start. Again, they were good players before we got them, and that's what, sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle. These guys have been scoring the ball from birth. So they're natural scorers. And the next step for us is just win at a high level. And with those two guys, it's been great that they've taken the program to another level. And now, as seniors and being an experienced backcourt, now it's time to take it even to that next level. And things that being able to do with us, again, they're the number 1 and number 2 all-time leading scorers in UTSA history, which is, again, most time you don't get those guys in the same area, yet alone the same team. But now it's time for us to take that to the next level. And we finished second in Conference USA in their time. Now it's time to compete for a championship, and that's hopefully we can do down the stretch.
And you guys had a big sweep this past weekend against FIU, and obviously that's, especially on the road, that's the type of thing that can swing things. Talk me through what clicked in that series. You guys have won 5 of the last 6. It looks like. I mean, what has clicked for you guys recently?
Honestly, just this COVID situation has not allowed as much practice time, has not allowed as much guys to mesh, and we've had some new transfers that were incorporated into our lineup. And so, again, it was just kind of getting used to guys being in and out, some guys practicing some days, not practicing some days, and just guys getting together and being a cohesive unit. I think finally we're starting to get a rotation. We're finally starting to get guys getting used to playing with each other with the short non-conference. finally starting to figure out, where this guy likes the ball, what this guy's going to do on a 2-on-1, and then getting used to playing with great players like Keaton and Javon. That's also an adjustment. Those guys can get hot, and even in the second game, Javon Jackson, scores, 15 points, almost 15 points straight. So again, as a player, when he's hot, you got to feed him, and he can get going at any time. So just our guys meshing together, coming together, and really having enough time for our guys to gel.
And it's something that Brian talks about a lot, pretty much whenever we bring on someone from Conference USA. But it's such a unique league, and especially this year with the back-to-backs. Just talk about the league and how difficult it is between the travel and the talent level, and now you're dealing with teams 2 days in a row. Just break down what this league has been like, especially this season.
Oh man, this is a fantastic league, and we always say it, even in our recruiting pitch. Like, we don't run away from the programs that are in our league. There's some proud programs, man. There's a lot of programs with a lot of history, and it's crazy to think that even Conference USA, obviously the landscape's changed a little bit, but since 2000, 59 players from Conference USA have played a game in the NBA. So that's an average about 3 per year. So, you look at guys like Charles Bassey, at Western Kentucky, and you look at a guy like Tavion Kinsey from Marshall, and then you look at, our guards, Keaton Wallace and Javon Jackson. Those are guys are elite players, and they've done some big things around college basketball, and they'll continue to do things around college basketball. And so this league is filled with great players. It's to compete, you got to compete every night, and it's 14 teams that covers 10 states. So you're going to do a lot of traveling too. So you have to be aware of people all across the country. And again, it makes you a national program just because of the programs you're associated with. The back-to-backs, they're a grind, man. They're a grind. You put everything in it to win on Friday nights. And then Saturday night, you're bouncing back and you're playing a game less than 24 hours later. So it's really, really difficult. Not a lot of adjustments can be made. So you got to stick with your habits and stick with what you do when it comes down to it.
I wanted to ask about your background. I know you played at Air Force and obviously served our country. And now that how did you get into college basketball coaching and your time in the military, transition from that into being a basketball coach?
Oh man, going back to those Air Force days, it's the best way to put it. It's a great place to be from, and always a great place to be at. When you go to places like the Air Force Academy, you do sacrifice some of the college experience, having a curfew all 4 years, and having to march to breakfast and lunch, and then just wearing a uniform to class every day. Those type deals, it takes a special kind of person to do that, and I'm thankful that I was able to make it through and learn all the lessons and be at the place they call the Leadership Factory. Because again, once you pass your sophomore year, you get to be a leader. You get to lead the cadet wing, and you get to find out your leadership style at a young age. And those things and those lessons have paid dividends for me in the coaching, and it's just been a seamless transition into that. As far as just coaching, getting into it, I was active duty in Boston, and luckily one of the coaches I played for, Steve Snell, he's now on staff at North Carolina State. He was good friends with Joe Jones at Boston University. So he made a phone call up there and said, "Hey, I got a guy in town. He'd love to come by." And at that point, I just wanted to see what it was all about. And thank goodness Coach Jones was able to carve out a spot for me, a volunteer spot. And basically I was stapling papers and staying out of the way. And that you learn a lot, and you're filling up water bottles and you're doing things just to be a part of it. And once I, ingratiated myself into the program and into the culture there at Boston University, who has, and he's done a great job, and there's great tradition there. I was able to be around some great players like Maurice Watson Jr. and he went on to transfer to Creighton and was one of the best players in college basketball. But just being around high level recruits and being around high level personnel, guys on staff at Boston University. Carmen Masiello is now the head coach at Siena. Being with him. Learning from him, seeing him as an assistant, and now seeing his ascension to head coach, and he's having a successful run right now at Siena. And just seeing that, and been with Curtis Wilson, who's still there. And again, was at Yale, won a lot, been around a lot, recruited a lot of really, really good players. Sean Morris, who's now assistant coach at Quinnipiac. Just seeing those guys, grow and move and learn, and guys I can call. And bounce ideas off them, and I still use them till this day.
And something I know that Coach Carm has been involved with, and he's a friend of mine, Coach for Change, and that platform, which has been so incredible, and the job that they've done. I know you're involved with that as well. Can you speak to that? Your involvement with that, and your goals with them going forward?
Yes, no, Coaching for Change is a great organization. I'm so blessed to be a part of it. Luckily, I mean, again, myself and Coach Carm go back to Boston University days when I was first getting into coaching, and it's a great platform to basically educate and evolve and transform our student athletes. Big initiative was to get them to vote. It was great to have every UTSA basketball player eligible to vote, so they can exercise their right in helping, be a part of the change. It's been a great organization. We meet a few times a month still, and talk about new initiatives and ways to grow diversity in college basketball, and how to deal with it and be an anti-racist, as we like to call it, and against all groups. It's not just the African American community, but there's a lot of stereotypes that need to be overcame. And being a part of this group, Coaches for Change, is a great organization, and even being a part of it with the women's basketball coaches. That's, again, I know some of them, but now I know more. And we're all in this coaching fraternity together, and we all can help each other, and we can all bounce ideas off each other and use our experiences to help the student athlete experience. And that's the ultimate goal, is to raise good future leaders of America.
Coach Hood, what is, if you had to say, man, what's the part about college basketball you love the most? Obviously, I think you've done a tremendous job of going from, in some ways, like you talked about, stapling papers to where you are now, and continuing to ascend. You've worked for great coaches like Steve Henson. You've worked for great coaches like Kyle Smith, and I'm sure I'm leaving some others out, but you have some great mentors. Talk a little bit about, and you've grown this reputation of not only being a good recruiter, but also being a guy who's really detailed and has a great understanding for numbers and analytics. So talk, one, what do you love about college basketball the most? Two, talk about the analytics. And then what's a challenge that people don't really know how hard it is? Because guys like you make it look easy. And I'm not saying that in a flattery way, but you do, because you have such a passion for it. Every day, no matter win or loss, you're bringing good energy. You were on as many Zooms this offseason as anybody. You and Coach Gray from UNCG probably led the nation in Zoom attendance. So there's a passion for the game that needs to be celebrated. But there are hard things, right, that you deal with. So I know that's a 3-part question, and then we'll let you run after your funny story. But number one, what do you love about it? Number two, talk about a little bit about the analytics. And 3, what's the challenging part of this whole thing that people don't really know?
Oh man, I appreciate that. And just what I love about it is really just seeing the kids grow from adolescence to young adulthood. That's the best part, is seeing these kids learn life lessons through basketball. And again, we know everyone's not going to be a professional basketball player, but we do know that everyone's going to have to be a professional in life. So having, young adult, adolescents come in and figure out things and learn things and really figure out how to be successful just through their habits and being on time and being a good teammate, sacrifice, teamwork, the hard work, the preparation, knowing you need to get better, trying to bring in a great attitude, having a great work ethic, and just living in the moment. Those things are things that go outside of basketball, and seeing young guys come in and the light bulb turns on. And being a great teammate, sometimes, the guys you recruit that are always the best players on their teams, and they're always coming in, and they may have to sacrifice and may take a role for the greater good, and just buying into being a winner and buying into doing things that are going to help them along the way, and not really just focus on the instant gratification, but just buying into the process. And the quicker kids can figure out that it is a process and things take time, the better off they're going to be in life, because again, there's no elevator to success. You got to take the stairs. And so again, I think kids, that's the rewarding part, is seeing kids take the stairs and seeing them work every day. And maybe that doesn't pay off till game number 18 when they're, at the free throw line with a 1-and-1 with 15 seconds left. Those free throws after practice, that's when it pays off. Now, as far as analytics, that's something that, again, I have to thank Kyle Smith for that. His program is heavily based on that stuff. And so if you don't speak the language, you in the meeting, it's hard to talk, so he had to dig into that stuff and really, really learn the numbers. So again, sometimes you can take away the subjectivity and make it objective, and making things objective takes away, some of your unconscious bias. And so that was a big part of it. And just seeing the numbers tell a story. Now you have to know how to tell that story, but the numbers do tell a story. You just got to know how to break those down and make sure you're interpreting them right.
And then the last one is just what you may have already touched on this. I may have missed it, but the challenging part about this whole thing that people don't see, like I said, people like you make it look easy. It isn't easy. People like Kevin think it's easy to just write about guys and what they're doing. It's not easy. So talk about that part real quick.
Oh man, some of the toughest parts is basically, again, it's got to be recruiting. Again, it's not hard to identify the good players. Y'all go to the gym and you see those. That's not the hard part. The hard part is getting them to buy into a vision and seeing them to see the bigger picture. And even, and sometimes it's not you're going to be the star. Sometimes it's you lessening your role for the greater good of the team and having guys buy into those concepts and aspects and being able to grow with the team and grow with their role. Sometimes that's a hard sell because sometimes, like you get people that tell people what they want to hear, not what's actually going on. And sometimes telling the truth doesn't always benefit you. But again, just having the morals and having the background that I have, I just can't tell the kid the non-truth. That's just not going to help them along the way. And I'd rather tell the kid the truth and not get them than tell him, a bunch of fabrications and land them. And then he's looking at me like, Coach, Coach, you said, and then you're looking around and you're like, well, I did say that, but, and that's some of the hard parts is having kids sacrifice and buy into a team goal in a world and society that wants to have a me culture.
And it's not even just identifying them and then figuring out, like you said, who can play, and then getting them to your campus is really hard. But the hardest part sometimes is helping them be successful once they come. And you've invested so much to get them there, and you have told them those things that are truths. But at the same time, it's like you still have to go earn it, and that's not always easy. And they have to fit, and they have to understand coach's offense and the game within the game. So, no, I applaud the work you guys do there. Never a lack of players in San Antonio now that you guys are there. We'll end with a funny story. I know you have some good times as a player at Air Force. I know you have some good times as an assistant. What do you got for us to end the night tonight with a funny Adam Hood story?
Oh, my gosh. I have so many. But I'll think back to one during my playing days. Played at Air Force. Actually had 3 coaches in 4 years. And at the time, I didn't really, think a lot of it. But now I'm in the coach profession. Actually helps me out because my network has grown just from having guys say, man, you coach me, you coach me, you coach me. So that's one of the perks of it. But my freshman year, I was at Air Force, didn't play a lot, probably, spot minutes. Someone was in foul trouble. I'd get my number called for 2 or 3 minutes. And we had just come off of a road trip, a pretty tough road trip. And we had lost 2 games in a row. And Coach Mooney had a kind of a ritual that he did. He set everyone down on the bench. And he kind of went through person by person and kind of talked about a recap of the weekend or the week of practice and what they did and, how to respond to it. And that was a week where I didn't play, so he went to the guy next to me and said, hey, hey, Johnny, you got to box out harder. You got to rebound harder. We just need you to have more of competitive edge. And then he gets to me and we had just lost. And, I'm a freshman. I don't know any better. He says, Adam, you're just too loud, we lose the game. You're back there ordering a cheese pizza as loud as you can. All you gotta do is pull them aside and say, hey manager, I want a cheese pizza. You don't have to yell it out after we just lost. And that was a lesson learned that, hey, when we lose, I need to be quiet and do my part. I might, texting was just becoming popular, so I should have just texted my pizza order instead of yelling it at the back of the bus. We just, lost a heartbreaking game. So that was a little indoctrination for me that, hey, we don't win. Hey, be quiet, freshman.
I love it. And now you're instilling that in your guys. I'm sure you had to do that the same thing.
Yes, no, you definitely do, because sometimes you don't realize, high school and they play all these AAU games. If you lose, sometimes
It's okay.
the next game, just on the next, like, oh, just a game. Like, no, it's got to hurt a little bit, because you can't do it. So you want it to be a little different. We want it to feel a little bit, not just, you leave the locker room, it's over. No, probably sleep on it for, about 24 hours, or 12 hours, feel it a little bit, and then we'll move on the next day and continue to get better and grow from it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Tell the whole staff, I could go top to bottom, from Luss 1 and 2, Henson, Peck. Tell the whole crew we said hello and thanks so much. And good luck the rest of the way, Coach. You guys are starting to play some of your best ball. So excited to see how you finish.
No, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Kevin. Appreciate it, Brian. Again, you guys are doing great things on this platform, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, that's Coast to Coast. Adam Hood did a great job, always does, one of the best. And if you don't know anything about the numbers within the numbers, call Adam Hood. He'll help you out with that, give you a quick education. But, we'll let Kevin give us his breakdown of the Coast to Coast today. We always like to do that. Give him the mic to end the show.
So you want me to go through every conference here and hang out for another 2 hours or so?
No, I think we're good on that. I just meant on the guests.
I think I might have just hopped off. You did. Yeah, I got some Chinese food waiting for me. So it's been fun, man. Again, we got some incredible guests who I think we're very fortunate to have on, and every single week can teach you something different about the business. I know it's very informative for me as a guy who, I never played AAU basketball. I never played high school basketball. I obviously didn't play college basketball. And so, to hear some of the war stories and, just the ways they build it is unbelievably beneficial for me, and I think hopefully beneficial for everyone, whether you're a coach and you're kind of getting this professional development, whether it's you're a media member like myself, whether you're a fan of the game and just you want to hear something different. Look, I love my podcast with Brad. There are a million, shows, 2 white dudes sitting around talking about basketball, right? We got it down. There's plenty of those. So, I think that we've been able to create something different. I think that's the hope, and let's just keep doing it. I know, obviously, life gets in the way, and we're busy guys, and sometimes we might miss a week or two, but whenever we do it, try to bring you guys everything we can. And I think this week I think we brought it. I think we threw the fastball. Gave him 95.
No doubt. 2 weeks back to back with 8 or 9 guests on the night, and it's been big time. And the baby news in the Burton household is that we have a new member coming next week. So we'll be shut down from live shows. So prayers up for awesome delivery and for the Burton mom and dad to get some sleep, hopefully. But we'll be transitioning the newest member to the family, so we'll be off from live shows, but we'll have plenty of great content still going on the YouTube channel at All Access Network YouTube, along with the All Access _net on Twitter, and of course college basketball CBB _Central is never lacking great content. And if you ever get bored, Kevin's the guy to follow because he's never bored when it comes to putting out content. So,
hey man, if you want midnight takes about the Northwestern coaching job, I'll give the midnight takes about the Northwestern coaching job.
Oh, man. Thanks so much for all the guests. Thanks so much for everybody who tuned in. Stay safe. Prayers to Lou Hill and his family still. Prayers to the other members that we've lost in the basketball community. Thanks so much for the support. Stay safe. Tell your loved ones you love them, and wear your mask. Be great. Be grateful. We're out.